Well, that was stressful. I have been freaking out for 15 minutes trying to get it to hook up.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, I didn't see it. No, that's good. This
So
is why we do.
I'm chatting in my cell phone number just in case there are connectivity issues.
Okay.
But yeah, we're good. 36 people.
Is it 36?
I think that's what they said.
Oh, probably.
It's been a very successful course, I feel like.
The program has been, yes, way more successful. I can't even say than I thought. I don't think I had any real expectation when we started, but to run 2 cohorts at the same time for the last few years, it's just like, wow.
It's kind of nice, right?
Yeah.
Turn the lights on just to check the lighting because it's how are things over at the Institute? I met Elizabeth 2 weeks ago. She's very lovely.
Yeah, she is. I'm so happy to have her. And now we're bringing on Simone now. And so, we're rebuilding our team and looking forward to, what's coming next.
Well, you tell me, if you need a trainer on staff, hire me.
We can't hire our trainers on staff. We can't do that. I'm gonna let Joshua. It's still showing up as Joshua, or maybe he doesn't have an H. He works for United Way, so he's going to be in the session for the full time.
Okay. Well, I'm ready to roll. They're recording them now. I'm assuming that United Way decides the attendancy policy in terms of like telling them they have to be on camera or how all that works.
Yeah, actually, I don't even, you know what, let's ask him. Maybe, I don't know if he knows. Hello.
Hi, how are you guys?
So you don't have an HENA.
Oh, I do. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, I thought I fixed it. Maybe that's because it's in our system.
In the portal, it was fixed. I looked at it earlier.
Yeah.
So I don't know why.
It might be just because when we first registered you, you should be able to change your name. But while we're doing that, I wanted to introduce you to our speaker today, Francis.
Nice to meet you.
Are you Joshua? Josh, what does
Joshua or Josh, doesn't matter.
Great. Just FYI, what I usually encourage people to do is to I invite them to put their pronouns in. So I don't know how they take attendance, but that would require them to like rename themselves, and I walk them through how to do that. I just want to make sure that that's okay with you and that's not going to screw up any attendance things.
No, that's fine. Because they have to sign into the system for attendance. So for us, that's fine.
Okay. And so there are 2 Joshuas.
So below me, I believe, is Mariah. I sent her the link. She's just joined on at United Way, and I know she didn't have an account set up in the portal yet. And Angie had just asked both of us to sit in for the first couple minutes, take attendance on our back end. And then additionally, if it's okay with you, I have a reminder just to share with the participants. We had a survey that we had to send out, and we just need to make sure that everybody completes it before the next.
Sure. Since it's their first time, I'm assuming you guys will take a couple minutes or so doing what you do. In terms of attendance, so with the Board of Social Work Examiners in Maryland, do you have to be on camera and visible? And I didn't know what your philosophy was or what you wanted me to say about that.
In our participant agreement, we ask all of them to have their cameras on. But what I can confirm this with Angie, but what I believe I was informed was they are not required to have their camera on, but they are required to actively be participating.
Okay.
Because I guess
as far as continuing ed, they don't have to, but it is something that I'm actually working with the board on, because I feel like if it's going to be live and interactive, you should have to be seen.
The board told us that they wouldn't get, I mean, they told the institute that if you didn't put them on camera, they wouldn't give CEUs.
Well, the institute is through NASW, so I don't know if that's the difference, because we're through Board of Social Work Examiners. That's two different.
I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem with it, because like you say, you gotta be in person. If it's in person, it makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
just didn't want to know how much policing.
What I usually do is when we start off is I usually just like thank the people who are on camera, to try to guilt the others into just, like, thank you. It helps the instructor, The difference also, I know, like with CWA, is that they basically pay for their people to come, so they can mandate it a little bit stronger than, our people pay us.
Oh,
And
true,
so,
true.
it's a different dynamic.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. So who Joshua, are you staying with us the whole afternoon, or you?
I'm planning to be here for at least until, I would say, probably 1:30, 1:45. I don't have anything on my schedule for the rest of the day, so I might just stop sharing my screen and hang out.
Well, I mean,
sharing
why
my
wouldn't you
screen.
want to? Hang out on a little intro to case management course. That's where the good times are. I wouldn't blame you at all. That's where me and my Chesapeake are gonna be. She sits and learns with me. Okay, well, I put my name. So Mariah says I'm having trouble with my audio. Hello.
It looks like she
Signed
left.
out.
Put her back in.
I don't even see. Oh.
She went back in the waiting room. Okay. Miss Hatch, are you going to be joining the whole time, or did you want me to tech host this?
Yeah, I will not be here the whole time. But I know I have faith. I have a lot of faith.
I just want to have somebody in the classroom. That's like, just in case, like, what do I do then if I get kicked out for some reason? Because that's happened to me, 3 times in 3 years, but it's totally traumatized me. So, if they get kicked out, what I'll tell them at the beginning is if I get kicked out, hang in there. I'm gonna go right back on. Please wait for 10 minutes, and I guess I'll call you and have a panic attack if I can't get in 10 minutes.
Yes, and I'm in the office. I put that number there.
Thank you.
So
just in case. I doubt it will happen because it's sunny outside and there's no wind, but as soon as I said that,
it'll happen. Yeah. Sorry, Josh, I didn't mean to mute you. I was trying to make you a co-host.
Primary host, I'm gonna be so important.
And you should be able to change your name if you would like. I don't remember.
Mariah?
Mariah.
Yeah, I actually did just try to change my name.
It wouldn't let you? Let me.
It wouldn't. I put it in, but then it's still coming up as Josh.
Oh, because yeah,
my audio was messed up too, so I had to go back out and come back in.
Let me see if I could change it.
Mariah, you gonna be here the whole time, or just for a couple minutes till 1:30?
No, just for a couple of minutes.
Okay,
we just till 1:30.
Well, it's good to see you.
Is it like Mariah Carey?
No, it's spelled M-O.
Oh,
M-O-R-I-A-H.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
There we go.
I don't know why my camera is so dark. It's having all kinds of technical problems.
Put a little message.
ready.
Ready?
I'll just
Okay.
be quiet till someone, I'm happy to introduce myself. I don't need any sort of like fancy introductions or anything. So just tell me when to start talking and off I'll go.
So do you need to start, Joshua? You want to welcome since they know you the most?
Sure.
Josh, before you start, which folder is the attendance sheet in again?
Here, I'll share the link with you real quick in Teams.
Okay, got it.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna let them in now. It's only 7, so let me check the email too. What's happening?
And on Thursday, I will not be able to check in until 12:45 because I run clinic work in the morning. So just don't panic. I'm coming.
We got you. Good afternoon, everyone. You made it. You're
Good
here.
afternoon.
Looks like we're missing a few people, but I sent out an email.
Hi, good afternoon, rather. Did you send the email recently, right now?
I just did it.
Oh, hold on. I got it. Someone's having a hard time logging in. Hold on. Thank you.
Yep. Was that her?
Ms. Beechman?
Good afternoon, everyone. You want to get started, Josh?
Yeah, I can go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first official class/session of the 2022-2023 Case Management Certificate Program. We are very happy to have you all here with us. I did just want to start with an initial reminder. I'm going to drop the link in the chat, but if all of you could please complete the survey that we had sent out in the email following our kickoff meeting. We just need you all to complete this survey before the end of next training session on Thursday. This helps us just gather some state-specific information for you all, just to make sure that all of our meetings have information that are related to the area that you are working within. So again, I'm going to drop that link in the chat. Whenever you have time today or tomorrow, if you could just fill it out if you haven't done so already. And then additionally, me and Mariah will be signing in to all of these meetings for probably about 30-45 minutes meeting. If you have any questions or issues, you can reach out to us in the chat or in our emails that we were included on the PowerPoint that we additionally sent out. And at that point, I can hand it over to Francis.
Okay, welcome everybody. I want to slow it down for a second because we have a whole bunch of people still joining us. And I was told we were going to have about 36 and we've only got 22 here. So I just want to make sure everybody is getting settled and hearing the same message. As people get in, I want to invite you to create a space where you feel comfortable and named and honored. So as who you are. So if you wish to put your pronouns in your name descriptor, it's pretty easy. You just go to the ... When you scroll the mouse over the camera, when you click on the ... it'll go down to rename. And you click on that, and then the capacity should show up for you. And so look, I just changed mine. Just want to make sure that's really important. And for those of you guys who just showed up, Josh was telling us that there's a survey that needs to be done by the end of business Thursday. And I'll have you guys at the end of business on Thursday. You're going to be back here from 1 to 4:15 on Thursday. So he put that URL. We'll put that back in the chat because I know for those of you guys who just signed in now, it may not necessarily show up. But right now, it looks like we have about 20 people, not including me. So what I want to do is just maybe wait. Let's wait till 1:02 or so, because I know sometimes from my own personal experience, it doesn't quite hook up right away, and I don't want too much to get lost. Please make sure, as we're going to greet you, to say good afternoon. So happy to have you with us. Make sure you sign in or say good afternoon in the chat so we know who everybody is. And again, if you would like to rename yourself or have your name reflect your pronouns, please feel free to do so. Scroll that mouse right over your picture. The ... it'll be in there, and the option will say rename as the last option. Go ahead and do so, because we want to make sure this is creating a space for everybody where they feel comfortable and heard and recognized. And sometimes Zoom gets it wrong, right, Mariah? Because for a while, Mariah was Joshua. And
Yeah.
we want, since you guys are having several classes, not just me, you guys are going to have several classes. We want everyone to get to know each other and create a safe space for everybody. All right, so it's about 1:02. I'll just go ahead and say one more time. We'll put it in the chat. Let me copy it and put it in the chat again. What you're going to see is a URL for a Survey Monkey that Josh and Mariah would like you to complete by Thursday, the end of the day. And you're going to be in training the end of the day. So I will remind you guys when I get you back again Thursday at 1 o'clock to make sure you get that information into them. And Josh and Mariah apparently are on the emails that the PowerPoint and stuff for today got sent. The link got sent today, so that's how you get in contact with them. I'm going to be with you this afternoon and Thursday afternoon, so let me introduce myself. My name is Frances Williams Crawford. I have been lucky enough to work with United Way on this project. This is year 6. And I think we've had at least 8 cohorts come through. So you guys might be cohort number 9 or 10. So this has been a really great experience where we talk to people about what it means to be doing case management and all the job knowledge. See, so every job is art and science. And so we're going to be doing a little bit of both of that today as we work through charting the course for case management career. So here's what I'd like for us to do to start off. So I'm just a couple things about me. Just historically with my career, I have worked for the Department of Social Services for 16 years, primarily in child protection, 10 of those being a supervisor. And for the past 10 years, I've worked with the University of Maryland at Baltimore in their Child Welfare Institute, teaching child protection, teaching trauma-informed casework, teaching supervision, and teaching ethics. I'm a state certified forensic investigator, makes me super popular at cocktail parties. And I'm really excited about being able to work with people. Just in general, what helps create this a good and safe learning environment where people can talk and share is when they go on camera. And I would like to thank those of you guys who are on camera now. I think as much as it's wonderful that we don't necessarily have to commute all the way into Baltimore and we can have people from far away come join us, one of the things that's lost in connection, but you guys are killing it all on camera. So thank you so much. If you guys have any comments or questions as we go forward, by all means, go ahead and chat or chime in a question or a comment. That's going to be really important because what I want to create is a learning community, not just me, the trainer, talking and you guys just hanging out while it's really pretty outside, wishing you were outside instead of listening to this unmedicated, really hyper woman talk about case management for 3 hours. So I want to acknowledge the expertise that you guys bring in the room, both personally and professionally. Your experiences matter and can help contribute to the stuff we're talking about today. So I also know some learners are not the chatters. That's okay. What we want to do is for you guys to be able to work in small groups if large group conversations can be overwhelming for you, because we know we got different kind of learners in here. Anything else? Oh, I have a slightly sarcastic tone and a sense of humor. I just want to sort of throw that out there. This job that you're doing is really meaningful and really wonderful. And I'm very passionate about this topic. And so I don't want anyone thinking that I don't take what we're talking about very seriously, because I do. I wouldn't devote my career of 30 years, old, to this if I didn't feel like it was that important. So what I'd like for everybody to do is go ahead and let's see your introduction slide. What I'd like for you guys to do is look at the quote. You're going to know your name on there, but as we talk about good case management, I want you to think about one word that you think defines quality customer service and think through how quality customer service makes you feel. So what I'm going to do, because we're not like in a classroom, is I'm just going to go around and call on people alphabetically by their first name, because that's the only way I can track it. I have lots of capabilities, but I can't track it any other way. So I would like to start with Ariel, if it's okay. And this also gives me an opportunity to make sure that I'm pronouncing your names correctly. For someone, Francis, people mispronounce my name, and I just want to make sure I'm getting everyone's names correct. So I'll start off with Ariel. And if you could share with me, what word captures quality customer service?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ariel. My one word would be empathy.
Empathy. Ariel, okay.
Yes.
And when you experience that moment where someone's providing you empathy, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel understood and heard.
Ariel, thank you for starting us off. And I appreciate your sharing. So then we're going to go right to Carolyn. Carolyn, what's a word that for you captures quality customer service?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Carolyn. Patience.
Patience. And when you encounter patience, what are the things how does that make you feel?
For me, a person's ability to not get frustrated during difficult circumstances.
Frustrated. So you're sort of worried, like you're dealing with my stuff, but if you're patient, then maybe like you're not so frustrated with me, and that helps me relax a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And Carolyn, I'm just going to tell you right now, I am old. And when I say old, I'm old. Please don't man me. Because then to me, that's just a reminder of absolutely how old I am. So I'm sort of grappling with age a little bit today. But thank you. That's wonderful contributions, Carolyn. I really appreciate it.
Thank
so
you.
That brings us to Charlotte. Charlotte, what word do you have?
Good afternoon, everyone. My one word would be kindness.
Kindness. All right. And when someone shows you kindness, what are feelings you have because of that?
I feel like that they care.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you, Charlotte, for joining us. Courtney.
Hello, everyone. One word I would choose would be empathy. Also.
All right. Ariel stole it from you, but we're going to give you that check mark. That's okay. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like someone understands me and they care.
All right. So we're going to double stamp that, Courtney. Oh, golly day. Hold on. I lost my screen and there we go. So you feel understood and you feel like they care about me. All right, wonderful, thank you. And that was Courtney, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, fantastic. And then we have Simone. What's a word that you, when you think about quality customer service, what's a word that you think about? And if you're having trouble getting yourself off mute, you can absolutely chat it in if that's easier. But Simone. Okay. So maybe we can check on Simone and see, make sure there's not a technical difficulty that she can't participate with us. I certainly want everyone's voice heard. Let's talk about Davina. What's a word that you associate with quality customer service?
I may understanding.
Well, there's no right or wrong answer. I want to make sure I'm clear about that. So you feel like if someone provides understanding, that really helps you. And Davina, when someone gives you that quality service, how does that make you feel?
So when someone is understanding to my situation, meaning that is real, like, so you're not just yesing me or okaying me, but you're understanding where I'm coming from, and therefore you're going to give me exactly, or at least try to give me what I need in whatever the situation is.
Fantastic. Davina, thank you for sharing that. Wonderful. And that brings us to Doris. What word do you think you want to have up there?
Want to put attendance.
Okay, and what does someone who's attending to you, how does that make you feel?
That you know, if the person is attending, is they're listening, they they're letting me explain my situation, or they hear me. Like, sometimes people, is talking and they start writing and papers and stuff like that. You want to know, you want the attention,
So what when they are attending to you, you feel like you're important.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
like they listen. Yeah.
That's what we want, Doris. Thank you very much for sharing that. Euclides?
Yes, Euclides.
Euclides, okay.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting me. What's a word you would use?
I will say caring, but with the meaning of appreciation of their situation.
Wonderful. And how does that make you feel when someone shows that to you?
For me, it's like they really are listening to me, or that like they care about my issue, my problem, and maybe they don't have the answer for my situation, but they can find a way to help me through my situation.
Even if they don't have the right answer, they'll have the information to go get it. All right, so they're getting to know your story. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Ilaria?
Hi, I'm here. The word that comes to me is, well, it's several words. Willingness to help.
Willingness to what?
Help.
Willingness to help. And when someone's leaning in with a real willingness to help, how does it make you feel?
That they care.
All right, that they care about me. We're getting a couple themes in here, y'all. Thank you for sharing. All right, my screen froze a bit, so that's gonna happen. That's okay. We'll go to Jacqueline.
Hi, everybody. So I'm gonna give the word respect.
And when you get that kind of respect, what kind of feelings do you associate with that?
So when I'm respected, it helps me to feel safe.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Jacqueline. I appreciate it. Judy Clay Potts, Baltimore. You win for most names. I'm usually the one who has the most names with 4, but we're tied. Judy Clay Potts, Baltimore. Why don't you tell me what's a word you associate with good customer service.
Oh, dang, I just had it in my head.
You know, that happens to me all the
Mannerism,
time.
mannerism.
Okay, so body language.
Yes.
So what kind of body language what are they communicating with their body language?
Is how you look at a person straight in the eyes, and knowing that, letting them know that you're where they're at, you connected with them.
So it makes you feel like they're trustworthy and making a real connection with them.
Yes.
And how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel more positive.
Wonderful. Thank you, Judy. Appreciate you sharing that. That brings us to Karina.
I think for me, it would be having someone who is present in the conversation, in the situation, not just being told, okay, sure, okay, like, because then at that point, I don't feel like we're having a conversation. So that makes me feel like a lot of the things, and I think Doris kind of touched on it a little bit, but, you know, it makes me feel like respected. It makes me feel valuable. It also makes me feel like that person's willing to help me. They're invested. So kind of ties to a little bit of everything.
All right. We got several on there. Thank you for sharing that, Karina. So that brings us to Catherine. And at some point in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to sneeze. You know that feeling? Of course, now that I've said it, I'm not going to sneeze. And so I've interrupted that for no good reason. But yeah. All right, Catherine, what you got? What's a word?
Open-minded.
And when someone's open-minded with you, how does that make you feel?
That they can see my situation from, even though they may think differently, like they can respect it. They can
They're
also,
willing to see your situation without judgment.
yeah.
Fantastic. That's going to be very important, Catherine. Thank you for sharing that. That brings us to Kelly.
Hi. I would say connection.
Great. Tell me, when someone has a connection, how does that make you feel?
It gives me relief and it makes me feel not alone.
Relief. I am not alone. Oops. Fantastic. I appreciate that, Kelly. All right, and so that brings us, that was Kelly, correct?
Yeah.
That brings us to Kiana. What's your word, Kiana?
Hi, my word is a welcomeness.
Ooh. And when someone's treating you that way,
right, it gives you the sense that they're fully there with you. You know, you're coming to speak to someone or in a space, and they're there to receive you and provide a service for you.
so they're there for you. That's nice. They're not there for their Instagram or whatever cool TikTok is going on, that they're there for you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Kiana. And that brings us to Latonda.
Hi. Mine would be clear communication.
All right. Clear communication. And that, what's the feeling that goes with that, Latonda?
The reason I say clear is because things can be taken other ways if you're not clear.
Right. So it's a little bit of security that everyone's on the same page.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Latonda. And that brings us to Lauren. Yeah, we got a big class.
My word would be professionalism.
Professionalism. Okay. And that makes you feel?
I feel confident, I guess, that they can address my needs.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you. And that brings us to Lenora.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
There were so many words that other people said prior to me that I was like, yes, that's me, that's me, that's me. Knowledgeable.
Did they take your words?
They took my words.
Lenora!
No, that means we're all on the same mindset of what we expect from quality customer service. That's all.
Okay, so I can just do sort of a generic check that you feel like they got it, right?
but I wanted to say knowledgeable.
Okay, knowledgeable, that's not up there either. All right, fantastic. And how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel that the person is empowered to be able to empower me.
They're empowered to empower me.
Yes.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you, Lenora. And that brings us down to, let's see who that brings us down to. That brings us to Mark.
I might say competent.
All right. And that makes you feel?
I don't know if this is a feeling, but like they're going to be able to really help me.
This is gonna work.
Right.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark. And then Marquita?
I guess my word was knowledge.
Now, hold on. I can't hear you, so I'm gonna turn up my volume. Marquita, can you say that again? I apologize.
My word was knowledge. I guess it's the same as knowledgeable.
Okay, knowledge. Yeah, and that's okay. We can do a check on there. It's kind of, we want to be fair to the lower alphabet when some of the words we wanted to use are stolen. That's only fair. And is there a feeling you want to add up here, Marquita?
I guess when someone is knowledgeable or knows knowledge of a service, it just lets me know that they know what they're talking about.
So you have confidence that they can help me. I want to save some room. They know what they're talking about, and this might work.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marquita. That brings me to Melissa.
The word that I had in mind was attentiveness, and I think somebody mentioned attending in the beginning.
Yes, they did, Melissa. And what are there any other feelings you'd like to share up here?
No, I think everything is pretty much described, but the feeling that somebody has your full attentions and is listening to you and like participate actively listening to you, have you feel like comforted and understood, or at least somebody is, listening to you.
Wonderful. Fantastic. So I've got those in there. Thank you, Melissa. And Mike?
Yes, I would say invested and attentive. Just members being invested in their future and their outcome. So just being on time, being present, and attentive.
Okay. And what does that help? What does that tell you?
That tells me that they're serious about whatever it is they came in ultimately to seek, whether it be employment or case management or resources. But they are there, they are attentive, and it's ultimately it's for them. So just being present in the moment.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's hear from Neil.
My one word will be approach.
Okay. And tell me how, when someone is approachable to you, how that makes you feel.
It makes me feel like they see me as a human being. I believe that we underestimate approach, but I believe that when we truly understand what it means to approach someone the same way we want to be approached, then it could go a long way.
So they're treating you like you would treat someone else. It's that sort of golden rule on there.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Neil. That brings us to Olu Wazijola. Please let me know if I said that correctly.
You were really close. I go by Siju.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my nickname.
All right.
Sorry, I just didn't know how to change it. But I guess like the word that I chose was engaged.
Okay.
Kind of just like similar to like present as well. But I guess for me, it makes me feel like the person that I'm working with or encountering, cares about what they're doing and cares about, whether it's like the task at hand or just like assisting me in any way they can.
Fantastic. Thank you, Siju. Now, if you, to redo your name, all you have to do is take your mouse and put it over your picture, your camera, and there's a dot, dot, dot that would be in the top right corner, and a menu should pop up, and the bottom should be rename yourself. So if
Okay.
anyone wants to rename themselves and or include their pronouns like I did with mine, absolutely invite you to do so.
Frances, I don't know if you are able to see me, but you skip me on Marixa.
Maritza, okay, well, you were listed, interestingly enough, not in alphabetical order, Maritza, and so I apologize. You're at the
That's
top of the
okay.
menu. Well,
I just want to
thank
make
for
sure
letting
you
me
can
know.
see me.
But no, absolutely. What word would you like to have?
I would say compassion.
Compassion. And what feelings does that bring for you?
Oh, they care about my situation.
Okay.
They're gonna try to help me.
Okay, that they care, that this is gonna work.
Mhm.
Fantastic. Thank you, Maritza. And at any
No.
point, y'all, if I am looking around and you get skipped over or if you joined a little late and you're earlier in the alphabet and I'm already down in the P section of the alphabet because I'm doing this alphabetically, please make sure your voice is heard. I really do try very hard to make sure I get everybody, but with a class this size, I've got 36 people in here, and y'all, I'm smart and I'm so good looking, but even then I might make some mistakes and miss some people. So thanks, Maritza, for making sure you were in there.
No problem.
And then Paulette, what word would you like to share?
Someone took my words, so I was thinking, so I came up with another one, honest.
Ooh, that's a
So,
good one.
yeah, so yeah, I would like, them to be honest with me, non-judgmental, just honest and tell me whether or not they can help me, or just tell me like it is.
All right. So you feel like I'll know what's going on.
Yes.
For better for worse, that if they say we can't help you, or they're like, yes, we are going to fix all your problems right now, you will feel respected enough to know what's going on. Wonderful. Thank you, Paulette. That sends us to Rita.
I just joined. I had a lot of technical difficulties, so they just helped me out. As I just typed in the chat, I don't know what we're sharing. So
Well, it should say, because I switched, it's name a word you associate with quality case management, and then share how receiving quality case management makes you feel.
I would say resourcefulness.
Resourcefulness. I like that one.
Yeah, that's my nickname, Resource Rita. So
oh, I love it.
Yeah, so for me, that's just everything in case management. You have to be very resourceful so that you know what kind of resources are around so that you can use those resources to help other people.
Okay. So when someone's resourceful, you feel like they're confident they can help you and that this is going to work. Okay, thank you, Rita. And then I have Samantha.
My word is transparency.
Love that one. I love all these. Y'all are killing it. For like a half hour into it, you're doing fantastic. So Samantha, what does transparency, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like I'm speaking to someone who can, give it to me straight, be honest, even if they themselves don't know the answer. Hopefully they can point me to the right direction.
Wonderful. So you'll know what's going on. Everyone's on the same page. If they don't have the answer, they'll have the information to go get it. And so those things are important. Wonderful. Thank you, Samantha. And Thakisha?
Hello.
Hello.
I will have to say for me, I will have to say respect, because even though we may not agree with the same outcome, we will still work together to find that solution. So I would say respect is important.
And so it makes you feel like, and
it makes me feel that we can be, that I'm confident enough that we can come to a mutual agreement about the solution.
So confident they can help me, a little bit safe that they're being, that even though they're different, we're still moving forward.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Thakisha. And then there's Tiffany.
Hello, my word is relatable.
Relatable. Tell me what that makes, how that makes you feel.
I feel like most of the best customer service I've ever received was someone who can identify what I'm asking for. And they are always willing to give like suggestions. And even if it's not even if they can't provide it right then and there, they'll show me or give me resources to go to someone else.
Fantastic. Thank you. I hope as I put these things up there, please let me know if I'm missing the mark on there, but I appreciate that, Tiffany. And then 2 more left, and that doesn't mean you're not super important just because you are our last 2. We're gonna have Wendy.
I would say productive.
Okay. And then tell me the feeling going with that.
I want to make sure my needs are met and we're not going around in circles. And, if he's not able or she's not able to help me, then move me along to somebody who can.
Okay. So that they can help me. If they can't, they'll find somebody else. And this is probably going to work. Wonderful. Thank you, Wendy. And can we get a little drum roll? Last on our outfit, last in the outfit, but first in our hearts is Wendy.
Hi, everyone. So I think my word has actually been said maybe 2 or 3 times, but it's attentive.
Okay.
And that's hearing and understanding the details of what is being said to you.
Okay. So that they are going to get the right information.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Did I skip anybody? I'm cruising up the alphabet. Is there anybody who did not get a chance? Demetra, I don't think I heard from you.
Yeah, it was me. I signed on a little late. I was having some difficulties getting on.
A little late happens sometimes, Demetra. There's no judgment here. If you show up at 3:45 and say, hey, I'm here, I might be slightly judging, but not right now.
Okay. So I thought of the word tone.
Okay, tell me about that.
I use customer service a lot, and the tone of the person's voice on the other end makes a big difference to me. If they're like rushing through introduction and voice all bland, I'm already about to get upset, because you're just running through it, especially if it was an error on the part of the company. So, yeah, the tone of your voice. I may not be able to see your expressions all the time, but to be able to hear it, then that means a lot to me.
So yeah, so they make you feel, and I'm putting it up here, I want to make sure I'm capturing it, that you're not just an item on their to-do list, that
Yeah.
they're just trying to run through.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And I think I see one more else. Ileana? And Ileana and Kia are 2 people I don't think I've heard from. And
Oh, sorry. So my word was patient. I would hope that if I'm seeking help for something, that the person is patient with me. I'm most likely in a vulnerable state. So yeah, I think patience would be my word.
okay, wonderful. Thank you. And then Kia.
Hi, everybody. I got on a little late. I was having some difficulty. I would say flexibility, being flexible.
I love that you can come on the end and just pull a new word out of here. I love it. I say, so tell me when someone's being flexible with you.
Well, I thought about being flexible because you have to be able to go back and forth and be attentive to a person's needs. So you have to be flexible if the person needs more time, so the person won't feel rushed. Being caring and compassionate. So that's why I thought about that. Being able to switch it to meet the person's need.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I think we got everybody, y'all, and we did that all in 30 minutes. So I'm actually kind of impressed. And what I want to say is this list sets the tone for the training. You guys, one of the things we want to remember is most of us have been on the other side, one way or another, of receiving services, right? And we want to be really focused on what kind of things we want other people to give us when we are in need of information or resources to support. You guys came up with a fantastic list. And I'm going to keep this because I think it's so complete. It's about empathy. It's about kindness and respect and patience and presence and open-mindedness and welcomeness. I mean, that y'all took some time off my lecture. I'm not going to share my lecture fees, but like you really did a nice job presenting what it is that people need when they are coming to someone else for assistance. And this is what we want. This is what we want everyone to feel, y'all. We want people to feel safe with us. We want people to feel relief that we care about them, that they feel understood and heard in a way that's without judgment, and that we are going to listen to them in a comprehensive way, that even if we can't help them, we're going to connect them with someone else who can. And so that people feel relief and support and valued and empowered. All of those things are so important, because if they leave working with us feeling valued and empowered and more knowledgeable, then what you find is then down the road when other things happen, because it's not a when, it's not an if, it's a when, y'all. Life just throws it at you, doesn't it? And so as we're providing these services and creating this relationship, what we're also doing is transferring knowledge and skills. That knowledge and skills helps prevent that sort of loop, that frequent flyer loop, that every time they have a hurdle, they come back and get services. What we want is we want to be eventually useless to them, right? That's the goal. So I really am super excited. I think it sets a great tone when a class can so completely and thoroughly, and I get a little, like I'm a little inspired to start our time, especially on the afternoon after everyone's eaten lunch and those carbs start to sit and the eyelids start to drag. So I really am thankful for that. Here's what we're going to be doing for the next, this afternoon and Thursday afternoon. We're going to go over the core case management principles. Those are listed in the National Association standards for social work case management. And what we're going to sort of break it down is these 6 core skills of engagement, assessment, planning, education, facilitation, evaluation. Now, what you're going to hear from me a whole bunch is all of these things need to be something you demonstrate, not just something you hope that's happening. Everything that you do, you should be able to point to something that you're saying or doing to show that you are doing it in the manner that we described earlier, that you're doing assessment in non-judgmental, present, respectful, open-minded way, that that we are facilitating connections to resources in a way that's empowering. All of these things, we want to move from assumption to being behaviorally specific. So you'll kind of hear me say that an awful bunch. And then we're going to end the afternoon on Thursday talking about self-care. One of the things that I would love to be in some sort of self-defeating manner is useless. What I would love is for me not to have to continue to train onboarding. The work you guys do, whichever agency you're working with, is difficult work, y'all. And most of us do not do this work for the love of money and community support and accolades. Because if that's why you're in it, y'all, I would suggest maybe trying law school or like pharmacy school or med school, because this is the work that we do because we care. But the first person we need to care about, hint, who's the first person we need to care about, y'all? Oh, yep, you nailed it. Yes, the first person we need to care about ourselves. It's the oxygen mask rule. And because if you're on an airplane and the airplane's going down and you're running around putting the oxygen mask on everybody, you're going to collapse. You are helping more people by helping yourselves. But I think, and I will share this with you, most people get in this job because we're the people our family and friends always turn to. Like even when you go shopping at the Safeway, the grocery's like, let me tell you about my child. I was literally going in, I had breast cancer. I was having a vasectomy that day. They're prepping me. And the tech comes in to tell me about the trouble she's having with her teenage child. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. And you know what I did? I listened to her. Instead of saying like, can you please stop? It's 6 a.m. I was like, that's got to be really hard for you. And in my head, I was like, this has got to be a joke. Oh. But I really want to talk about self-care, and it has to do with constantly filling your own well, or else you can't dip in and share water with others. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next 2 days. You guys should have a bunch of handouts. If you don't, let me know and I will pop them in the chat, and to make sure that you have them, and they're going to help us make sure we have some meaningful discussions. I do want everyone's voice to be heard. So when we're talking about what is case management, that's where we're going to get to handout number one. Judy, do you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Do you see? Do you see?
Yeah, I'm just looking for how to get my handouts.
Okay, your hand up. If you go, thank you for making me explain that, because I didn't. If you go on the bar at the bottom that has the mute stop video, there's a ... button that has reactions. If you click on that, it has reactions. And when you click on reactions, you can raise your hand, you can clap, because why shouldn't you clap? Because it's a sunny day. Laughing, the surprise emoji, heart, celebration. There's no like I freaking hate you emoji. Oh no, if you click on it, there's a whole bunch more emojis on here if you wish to share into that. But that, Judy, did you find that where it can show you where the reactions are? And if people want to just show me, they can go to that reactions and raise their
You
hand.
see the reaction?
No, you got to download these. These are all the handouts.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Kelly's got her hand up, Laria's got her hand up, Lenora's got her hand up. Those are the ways, and if you're having trouble working that out, please let me know. And then what you can also do, as soon as you have your hand up, then you have the option, when you click over your camera again, it has lower hand. So you can raise your hand. There, Catherine's getting in the spirit. She got a little pumpkin emoji going on. I like it. Now, the reason why to use that reaction is I have a screen of my PowerPoint, the handouts, and cameras of y'all, and they're small. So I can only have about like 12 to 15, which means I can't watch all 36 of you at the same time. When you raise your hand, your picture goes right to the front. And it just screams, "Call on me, Francis!" And that way I know that you're trying to talk. Otherwise, I worry I'll miss people. Okay, so handout number one talks really specifically about what we're supposed to be doing, that we are there to optimize client functioning and their well-being by providing and coordinating services. So I want to just make sure that we're really clear about what our job is. We're not there to fix people. Y'all, we're not to fix people. We can't fix them. What we're there is to optimize, and they're best in their environment with their skills, resources, to the best of their ability. So that word optimize is in there. Lenora, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, so you putting the slides in the chat?
I can do that if you would like me to. It's going to require me. I'm going to have to stop share because it won't let me put it in there.
Now, how else can I get the slides?
Well, that's a question. I had assumed that you guys got an email with the PowerPoints in them.
I can chime in and answer that.
Oh, well then Joshua's, there we go.
Thank you.
So in the UMaryland portal that you log into, there is, like, when you click on your PM cohort, and it opens up the list of all of the different classes that you have access to. The first one says access webinar, and then the one below that will say access documents or handouts. And if you click on that, it'll then pull up the link or a window with all of the different documents associated with this class, and then you can download each of them accordingly.
All right, so my guess is that Lenora's learning was everybody's learning. And that's another thing to keep in mind when you ask a question is if one person has a question, there are about like 4 more people who have the same question. So thank you for your question, Lenora, and thank you to Joshua for the answer. I went ahead and put it in the chat anyway. And if there's any handout that you can't find, I can see about getting that to you guys at break.
If it's easier for you, Francis, I can go ahead and download them and drop them in the chat as well.
Joshua, I love you being part of my learning team. Thank you so much. That would be wonderful. Okay, so what we're really doing, and circling us back to here, is that we want to get their optimized functioning, and that's where you have to be realistic and non-judgmental. It's about attending to their goals and helping them achieve to the best of their capability. And we want to recognize that we're going to do it in the most effective and efficient way possible, right? So it's not just about fast service, it's about good service, and recognizing that these individuals we're working with, y'all, what we find, especially if there's one problem, there are about 5 other problems that go with it. You know what I mean? You go and help someone with their housing, and then we realize that there are parenting needs or food needs or education needs. So people usually come to us are not just one-stop shoppers. They're coming in with a variety of different needs. And so what we want to be doing is strengthening their own problem solving and coping strategies. Problem solving and coping strategies. Again, we don't want to be the person they always turn to. We want to model, sometimes not explicitly, but sometimes implicitly, like, hey, here are some of the ways to work through it. And we want to really pull out their coping skills. I teach the majority of the time, but one day a week I do the I work in a clinic, in a mental health clinic. So everything I am talking about, I do. I don't ever teach stuff that I don't do because I think that's crap. So, crap's not a good word. I don't think that's effective. But I had someone come in and they said, I can't do anything right. I'm floundering. I can't help myself. And I paused for a minute and I said, how'd you get here? Oh, I got my grandmother. Huh. Looks like you have someone who cares you enough to drive. How'd you get an appointment? Well, I called up. Oh, so you were able to find a resource, call up, make an appointment, had insurance that covered it, and then were able to contact your grandmother, and she was able to use her car to get you in here. And they're like, well, yeah. And I was like, okay, I got 5 things you did right there, and I haven't even known you but 2 minutes. And the person laughed. But the fact is that when people in crisis, they tend to focus on the things that are the problem. And research shows over and over and over again that our tendencies sometimes are to really unpack the problems, when actually if we focus on uncovering their strengths and their resources, that lifts them up in a much more effective and efficient way. So that's why we're really going to enforce this idea of helping them with our strength, solution focused approach, lifting them up and with their problem solving and coping skills. One of the things that we want to do is talk about how they interact and identify people in their communities and their families to help them reach them and make those linkages, right? So that, again, we're not the only person in their world. What we want to do is expand their resources. And then, you know, it's sort of interesting. It goes, that's on the micro level. Part of our job is also to look at the service delivery systems we have and advocate so if I'm working with Catherine and Lenore, and in our process, we're seeing a lot of money is being spent on like postage and sending all these resources out. And all of a sudden, Lenore's like, hey, do you consider that we could get on a website and then just put it on there and people could access it? And then we'd save money on paying someone to do that and getting stamps and making copies. And I'd be like, you're right. There you go. And then we can spend money on getting baby supplies for our new moms, right? So it's about thinking about your system, right? And thinking about advocating for policy. So I wanted to make sure when we started off that you guys were aware that NASW has specific standards that are established for casework management. The most recent one that we started with was 2013. These do get reevaluated, but it's all, we're using planning and advocacy and evaluation to make sure that we're enhancing the well-being of individuals with complex needs. This sentence here is optimized functioning. We don't fix. If we fixed y'all, we'd have a magic wand, and if I had a magic wand, I would be in Bali with Denzel Washington. Anyone who knows me knows that those are my goals in life. My husband knows this. We have these open discussions. He's like, yes, I know, it's Denzel, and I'm second. I'm like, you're a really close second, but yeah. So what we want to do, the national standards is really clear about what it looks like when we're doing it well, that we're person-centered services. And this is really a part about helping us be not judgmental. We're looking at people in their environment and helping them survive and thrive in their environment, which means that the way we do things or our values may not be what helps them survive and thrive in their communities and their environment. Does that make sense? Like, if what helps me is meditation, I'm not gonna be like, y'all, the only way to fix this is meditation. Or if the only way to fix this is through exercise, or the only way to fix this is going to a class, because people fix themselves, we don't. And that's how a quick and easy way to make sure we're doing it without judgment. What we're going to do is make sure our relationship is the foundation of the work that needs to be done, right? The way we interact with them is going to be so important. And we've talked about that strengths perspective. And I want to invite you guys not to do this by yourself. So when I started with child protection, back when dinosaurs were roaming the earth, like it was the way the law worked, it was just the CPS worker and the parent and the child, and that was it. And the parent, the children are doing twice as much work. I'm doing 8 times as much. And they really sort of did a lot of research and were like, oh gosh, y'all, like this gets done more quickly, more completely, and the change lasts longer if we enhance their networks. So we're really going to talk about support networks. Formal ones, which are, you know, agencies, and then there are informal ones, friends, family, neighborhoods, etc. What we really want to do is collaborate with people and make sure that I'm not the only one who knows the answers. I'm not the only one who can, I want to really just empower not just this person, but their support network, and recognizing that there's more than one way to build a better mousetrap, right? Okay, and some of you guys work on the micro level, working with people, and some people are working as directors, and some people as policymakers. And all the way along the line, there are opportunities for you guys to have impact. But one of the things that I want to make sure that we focus on is that you know you're doing it well when you are giving person-centered service, when your perspective is looking at them and their environment, when you're focusing on their relationship in a way that's a strengths perspective, not a deficit perspective, and you're expanding their resources through collaborative teamwork, and that you were recognizing interventions are capable at the micro, meso, and macro level. One thing I want to check in, because I've been talking about an hour now. I talk fast, y'all, and you want to hear something scary? No caffeine. No caffeine has ever passed through my body, which would seem to make me somewhat of a supernatural being, because I'm just hyper. I want to make sure that I'm not talking too fast. So at any point, if you guys want me to repeat things or have questions, again, raise your hands or say, Francis, slow down. Okay. I just think that's important to me. Makes sense. Okay. What I think we're going to do first is I want you to think about, you have handout number 2, and it should say at the top of it what it takes to change. And I want to give you guys, I'm gonna put my timer on for 2 minutes, and I want you just, and you do not have to share any of this information. Anytime I give you guys a handout to complete, it is up to you what you share and not share, because I'm asking what you personalize. But I want you to take 2 minutes to reflect. And I'm going to go ahead and put a timer so I don't rush people. And as soon as you're done filling out handout number 2, go ahead and type done in the chat. Judy, you have your hand up? You're on mute. And Judy, if you look up in the chat, if you're wondering where the handout is, if you look up in the chat, Joshua put it in the chat to be downloaded.
Yeah, I downloaded, but I'm not too good of going. So I go back to it.
Yes, you would pull up what it takes to change.
Okay.
And just take a minute and fill out those questions.
Okay.
Paulette can't open it. let me see, let me walk through that process and see. So I'm downloading it and see what, but sometimes it's an us issue and sometimes it's a your computer tech issue. So I'm seeing if I can do it myself. So Paulette, when you press download, what happened? And you're on mute.
It's just going round and round. I think it's my computer.
I think it might be. That's, and if your computer's not physically turning round and round, but it's giving you that look, that means it's taking its time and it's saying, it is Tuesday, it is sunny, why are you rushing me? And so if you can't open it, really it's just taking the time to reflect in your life. What are some changes that you've made and what helped you do it and what made it easier and what made it harder? Because we have all gone through change. So what I can do now, let me share that screen for those of you guys who are. Hopefully you can see it more a little bit there. Demetra, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, so again, my apologies. Judy and I both, we are just getting on the right network. So I tried to download and print out the PowerPoints real quick, and I'm not seeing this paper. So could you tell me which one it is?
So this says handout number 2, and it says what it takes to change. It should be on the, now you guys should see it. For those of you guys who are just having trouble downloading it, that's fine. I just want to make sure I made it visible for you up here. So rather than waste the time trying to download it, I just want to make sure you get the time to reflect. Okay, we got half of us done. I have a hound who's scratching at my door because he wants to come back in, so I'm going to come right back. Okay, so let me ask you this. Why do you think I wanted you guys to spend the time to think through this for you guys? What was the purpose? Other than I just wanted to give a handout and I was bored and I thought this is a way to kill 10 minutes.
To possibly reflect on our own process that we went through when we were trying to make that change, to kind of, you know, for me, it just kind of made me think about having more empathy in certain situations, because this process was very difficult for me. And even though, you know, we get frustrated at times in this field, it's important to always have that in the back of your mind.
You know, I absolutely, that's the first driving goal, is for us to have empathy. We tend to treat people how we want to be treated when we can reach across the table or the counter or the doorway and recognize that a lot of us are a couple bumps in the road, maybe even small bumps of road from the person who's across the table, across the desk on the other side of the door, and slowing our own process down and remembering what that's like, Rita. Thank you. Lenore, you have your hand raised?
Rita looked on my paper. I had the same I had the same thoughts as Rita. It really makes you reflect on the fact that change is not easy. It's a process. It's not linear, and to allow you to be more compassionate.
You know, I love that you added that it's not linear. Change, and anyone who knows me, and I've been training a very long time, because I taught at School of Social Work before that, change is a process, not an event. And do you know what the path of change looks like? It looks 2 steps up, 1 step back, 3 steps to the left, a pause, a nap, couple steps forward. So change, when you remember change is a process, not an event, it helps set the tone and the timeline. Because sometimes we do get a little judgy McJudgy pants about how quickly people make that change or keep that change. Sometimes that countertransference comes in. We're like, I just got you the job and then you showed up drunk, right? And then we're like, and I'm done with you now, instead of realizing, okay, change the process, not an event. Change the process, not an event. And I sort of use that mantra because there are times that I think judgy McJudgy pants is actually a technical term that's not in the DSM-5, and I don't know why it's not, but I'm really sort of waiting for some royalties because I love the term. So yeah, I think that's helpful. And so Ilaria, if you would like to share, you have your hand up as well.
Yes. When I was feeling it, I thought it made me think what was easier to get over my bumps in my process with someone else. Not needing to be someone who is close to me, but someone who has the technical ability or the knowledge that I didn't have.
And I love that it changes a process best done with someone. Right. And as you can even use that visual of, I'm not leading on the change. I'm not dragging you on that change. I may not even be walking next to you on that change, but I am walking behind you because I want you to keep going, and I'll be there when you know when a child first goes to school and they take the steps and look around and take the steps and look around, and sometimes they run back in and they head plant you into your thighs, and but you're there behind them, right? And I think that's a really wonderful reflection to bring forward. So thank you for sharing that too. We need to keep that perspective in mind as we move towards working through the key strategies that NASW talks about, and that's what these slides are. So this one right here is our job is to enhance interacting, right? What we need to teach people the skills and resources to talk to people, because if, like Ilaria says, that we need other people to move through, then sometimes people just need to learn to talk to people. And this is where, and I think it's really important to acknowledge, this is where power and privilege can really impact how comfortable people are talking and asking for help or engaging. People sometimes are historically disempowered, marginalized, don't feel comfortable, and are not welcomed into asking for help. It's one of the interesting things I would have my interns do when I supervised at DSS is I'd have them go through a resource list and just update it every year so they would know what resources and a name to a face, etc. And then I would say, I want you to call back and not tell them that you're an intern, and just ask for information and see if there's a difference. And unfortunately, y'all, there is. Right? And so one of the things we want to be able to do is model for people. That's why when we talk about making linkages, which is another key skill, is we want to be able to, if we call over to the pupil personnel worker at the school, we want to have them in the room and be like, hi, my name's Francis. This is my issue. I think this is a person I'm supposed to talk to, but if I'm not, if you could direct me in the right space. So they start learning some of those skills. So it's a modeling process. So we want to be able to enhance their interacting in a way that's productive to them and gets them to where they need to be. We want to be able to help them learn to problem solve. Now, y'all, that's going to help. What we want to do is give them the power of critical thinking. There are 3 levels of thinking. So if you, it's not for neurologists or real brain scientists, but there's 3 levels of brain functioning. There's instinctive, there's emotional, and there's functional brain working. And so what we find is when people come to us in crisis, they're at the emotional level of decision making rather than their frontal lobe and their executive functioning. What do I mean by that? How many of us have had great goals for the week? We're like, this is what I'm going to accomplish this week. I'm super excited. This is why they're important for me to accomplishment, because it'll help my job, it'll help my marriage, it'll help my kids, it'll help me physically. And we can think through a goal for a week, a day, or a year. How many of us have done that? And then how many of us have hit a roadblock and gone, oh, I'm out. I'm done. Not this week. Am I the only person who said, oh, I want to be healthy today? And then I'm just like, I'm too tired. That dog's going to have to just be outside. I can't do it. Or you know what? That ho-ho in the kitchen looks yummy. And normally I would go get my kale salad, but like, it's a ho-ho kind of day, right? And so we're making decisions emotionally. And what we want to do is help people slow down in their problem solving skills so that they are handling them with their executive functioning, taking their emotional distress out of it, rather than the emotional. So wait, and Demetra said for the 3rd one, so the 3 levels of brain functioning, and this is called triune brain theory. Now this won't be on your test, right? So I don't want anyone to think this is going to be on your test. There's instinct, there's emotional, and then there's executive functioning. And I'm putting that all in the chat for you. But I do want to talk about, you know, if you were looking for the top principles, that may be something you'd want to study. That's enhancing interactions. And I'm going to put that in the chat as well. Problem solving and linkages. So, Demetra, I don't know which you were asking about, but I got you both. All right, we good? All right, I love it. So, when we're talking about linkages, and you guys have already said this, so I'm going to skip through that part of the lecture and move forward and talk about, all right, so we know I don't have all the solutions. I'm not a CDAC, y'all. CDAC is a chemical dependent and addictions counselor. I know enough CDAC, like I know enough Spanish. I can get through in a crisis, but I could also be put in jail by saying the wrong thing. Like I'm not really sure. It's a coin toss. When it comes to sexual abuse, I'm your girl. I actually have taught prosecutors and detectives across the state for a decade and a half how to do forensic interviewing the sex abuse victims. So that's my bag. So if that's part of it, then you want to come to me. If there's a CDAC issue, that let's get an expertise in there. Or if there are housing resources, I want to get someone over from housing over here. I just want to make sure that we recognize we don't have to know everything and we don't know everything. So these linkages are important for us and important for them. One of the things I do to help enforce that I'm talking about linkages. So remember how I said everything that you're doing, you should be able to support? I do something called an eco map. And I just want to demonstrate that for you guys right quick. And we'll talk about it a little bit more. How many of you guys have ever done an eco map? So it's kind of neat. This is about person environment. You don't need anything other than the ability to draw arrows and draw circles. So I'm going to draw the person I'm talking to. I'm going to draw them in the middle. And then I'm going to say, tell me who or what's in your life right now. And for everything they bring up, I'm going to draw another circle. School, child, family, romantic partner, friends, family, and I'm going to label them all, right? And then what I'm going to do, and this is what I like the most, is I start drawing arrows to help me understand what those connections look like, right? If it's a strong connection, I might draw a couple arrows. Let's say the mother's really providing help pay for rent. We're going to do a couple arrows in. Let's say this with their friends, they're not as connected with friends as they're like. I might draw a disjointed arrow. So what I'm doing is actually giving them a physical representation of linkages, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, thinking where you want to get, what other circles should be on this map? Or would you hope would be on this map that you would like some help with? It's like, yeah, I've been getting headaches. Like I do really well, but by 2 o'clock, I get really bad headaches. Well, I might want to go say, we might want to bring a doctor, a medical specialist in there. Or, oh, I'm super excited about having an income, but I don't have my GED. Well, we want to put the school on there. Like really have them visually think through the linkages they have. What we find is trauma survivors or people who are in crisis think better when they have visuals. When you have something concrete to put in front of them. Because otherwise words just fly about your head, right? And if you have being like, all right, so they'd be like, well, I have a guidance counselor. You'd be like, all right, tell me, and you would put the guidance counselor on the circle. Tell me about your relationship with them. Well, I mean, I have one at school, but I've never talked to them. Okay, what would it look like for you to be able to talk to them? Well, I guess I could just make an appointment. How do you make an appointment? So you notice at no point am I telling them what to do. And at every point I'm asking them. When I give suggestions, y'all, about linkages, then I'm the one who has all the knowledge. If I ask questions, all I'm doing is reinforcing that they have the answers and skills. And the second reason I want to make sure I don't offer linkages first, I ask them first, is I might make the wrong linkage. Again, we're talking about person and environment. There's some environments where religious linkages are really important, and in some where it's not. Or mental health is a strong part of their community, or in their community, you're reviled if you're in counseling. So what you need to do is think through in your community what linkages are important. When you were growing up, what resources did you have in place? Because if you drive them out of their community to put in resources, what happens as soon as you close the case? And they're done. They're only in it because you told them to. And as soon as you close the case, they drop out. In most cases, those linkages have to survive after you, not because of you. Does that make sense? So we're really going to draw these questions out. So imagine that you had the connections you had to reach your goal. Who else would be in your life? How do you get access to them? What sort of hurdles in the way? What are some ways to get over hurdles before? So you're asking those sort of questions to get them to draw out what it is they want. Any questions about those key skills about interacting, problem solving, and linkages? Okay, we're getting through some good stuff. I gotta go back. New share back here. Okay, so these are the skills that we're going to be demonstrating. These, we're going to be talking about assessment, engaging, planning, facilitation, education, evaluation, and documentation. We're going to walk through each of these. And the first thing I want to do is talk about assessment. And so again, I want to hear from you guys. When you're doing an assessment, what's the stuff you need to know? And we're going to make a list. What do you need to know in order to complete the assessment? So go ahead and chat in. I won't go around.
The demographics.
Okay. Okay, demographics. What else do you need to know? In order to make a determination about what do they need, what's the information you guys need to know in order to do your job?
Some background.
Background about what?
About what's going on.
Okay, so you want to know the presenting problem?
Yes.
The safety situation.
Okay. Immediate safety needs.
Yeah.
What they have tried so far and hasn't worked.
Past solutions and bumps in the road.
Maybe there are resources.
Okay, resources around what?
Resources around whatever they're, for whatever the, well, just their resources. I would think, personal or financial or.
Don't you need to know what they need resources for first?
Yeah, so that's, we're going to go to that presenting problem, but we want to know what resources are in their direct community, and specifically a little bit about their financial resources. We want to know what personal supports are. What are other things that may be helpful for us to know?
their strengths or needs.
Yep, you want to know their strengths.
And going back to the resources, what resources they've used, so you'll know which ones to provide for them, just to piggyback on what Mark said.
So who's on their team, right? And who could be on their team?
Want to know the best communication. Is it email, phone? So that way you can contact them.
You know, it's interesting because what we've seen generationally is pretty pronounced how people communicate. And my grandmother, everybody, it was face to face. My parents, phone call, me, text, my kids, TikTok. Like my kids, well, they're in their late teens and early 20s, but like they can have 5 people in the room hanging out, not a word is spoken, but they're all this, and you see like them all giggle or whatever. So what we really want to know is what's the best way to communicate with them, right? It was interesting. We had a foster care worker who was trying to track down someone who was in our care and custody, and she's like, "You're not returning my phone calls. You're not returning my phone calls." And the child's like, "Well, why do you need to know?" And it's like, "Oh, okay, you're in our care and custody. We need to know where you are." And she's like, "I put my Facebook this was when kids were still using Facebook. "I put my Facebook status up every day. If you want to know, that's how you get in touch with me." So the person came to me like, "What do I do?" And I said, "Well, it sounds like we need to set up," that's how they want to communicate. There's really good information. Let them know the parameters of what that looks like. And we created a DSS specific Facebook profile. And we also set it up that, you know, so it wasn't too invasive. So we had some good boundaries in there, but the child identified, yeah, and then we never had a problem again. Right? So we weren't forcing the child to communicate in a way that felt cumbersome or annoying or foreign to them. Like, how do you best communicate? And what's easiest for you to communicate? Because like if you have someone who has a full-time job or is somewhere else while you are your normal working hours, sometimes it's just email. That's the best way to talk back and forth. So I like that. What other things do we need to know?
For me, I work with a lot of folks who are Latino or Hispanic descent. So I always want to know what's their preferred language of communication.
Preferred language, absolutely. If any of us have ever been in an experience where we're in an environment where it's not our primary language, that is a different hurdle and a different level of confidence and or insecurity about engaging with people. What we want to do is make them feel as comfortable as we possibly can and speak to them in a language that they're the most comfortable with. What else?
It's a lot of information in the chat or responses in the chat.
It's a lot of information. Yes, you're exactly right. We need to know, lots of times we need to know about their medical issues or legal issues.
Their challenges.
Yep, what are their challenges? You know, their physical or mental or emotional challenges that they're dealing with. We call those things complicating factors. They may not be the actual issue they're presenting with. So they're presenting as housing insecure, and they have bipolar. Bipolar didn't cause the housing insecurity, but it can make it harder to get someone to rent to them so they can get a job, etc. So those things are important. We want to know other contributing dynamics. We want to know about IPV. So when I say IPV, that really makes it sound like a sexually transmitted disease. It's not, it's intimate partner violence. Domestic violence was unfortunate, a bad branding term. When people think domestic violence, they think it only happens in the home if you're married and are still together. And actually what we know is that the violence happens when they're not together. You don't need to be married to be in an intimate, so it was rebranded intimate partner violence to help let people who know are dating or had just broken up that violence can be perpetuated, and especially with teenagers where we saw a significant increase. So mental health and substance abuse, right? Trying to think of some, we want to know about friends, neighbors,
Any goals that they may have?
Yeah, goals for work.
Emergency contacts.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff. And well, first of all, I have to spell emergency correctly. So let's just start right there with the proper spelling. Emergency contact. So what I want to do is, this is just stuff that you guys came up with in 2 minutes. And it just shows us how much there is for us to know, because they might be coming in for one specific issue and all these other things might be contributing. Right. So let's say religious connections. Gosh, religious connections or supports, cultural connections and supports, gender identity, those are like I said, that's, you guys came up with that list pretty quickly, and there are a lot of things that are going to affect what we need to assess. Now, what we're going to have to do is think about how to organize all this information so that we don't take information, all this information, and start being judgmental. Right. So one of the things that we're going to start off any assessment process, first of all, a lot of us have like forms we have to fill out, right? What I'm going to strongly encourage you guys to do is, when you're gathering that information, not have the form like this. Why not? If I'm sitting there talking with you and like, so name, number, religious, tell me why that might be a problem.
It seems like it's creating a physical
listening.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me. You want to practice active listening. You want to let them know that you're being attentive to their needs.
Yes, and I want to be physically attending to them. And I think Melissa mentioned, like, you're actually creating a barrier and a distraction, and you're making it seem like a very, what I call, client friendly interrogation. And what you want to have at the assessment is a conversation. Does that make sense? The difference between the two? Did I see someone's hand up really quickly? All right. What I want you to think about is how you bring forward the assessment process. What I want to do is, you need to explain what you're doing. And so you're going to say something like, hey, Neil, what helps us get to know each other is a process called like the assessment. And it's a conversation where you tell me what it is about your life, what's going well, what are some of your worries, and that we all take a look at that to see what's the best path forward for you. So do you notice it's not like I need you to give me information and then I'm going to spit out a conclusion. And I'm going to use lots of teaming language when I present assessment. When I talk to people in the assessment stage, I'll say things like, I may take notes, and that is simply because I am not smart enough to remember everything you say by the end of the day. Y'all, I sometimes like last week, I had 9 sessions in one day for mental health. Like, my brain was a little bit mush at the end. I don't ask permission. If I'm going to take notes, I don't say, is it okay if I take notes? Because I'm taking notes. And then I'll say, I'm going to take notes. This is why I'm going to take notes. And if any point you want to see it, absolutely ask, because this is about you. So I try, if I take notes, and I try to make sure that my notebook is open, so it doesn't look like a barrier. It just is something right here. And then I try as much as possible to write without looking down. Because as we know, the way people communicate isn't just through language, it's through body language and through emotions. So when we talk about assessments, I think it really is important to set the tone, to start talking about like a conversation, rather than, and you want to say things like, okay, there's some questions I'm going to ask. And this is another thing I say. So if I have someone in my office and I'm like, all right, Violet, I want to talk about the assessment process. It's a conversation. It's about you sharing as much as you can about your life. And I'll have some questions for you. But I want to let you know, Violet, there may be some questions I ask you're not comfortable answering. And that's okay, because you've known me for like 5 minutes. So if you're not comfortable answering a question I have for you, just say, hey, I'm not comfortable answering that. And that's okay. if I don't give them permission to say I don't feel comfortable answering, and I ask them a question they don't feel comfortable with, what do I increase the likelihood will happen?
They close up and don't want to talk to you, and kind of resist that conversations you're trying to have.
Yeah, they'll close up or they'll lie.
They'll lie about the answer. Okay.
Yeah. And so you just want to say, and if you're in a, especially if, and each of you guys have slightly different jobs, especially if you're in a power position, some of you guys have money or resources that they want. So what do people do when they're trying to get access to power? Whatever it takes, y'all. And when they're desperate, they'll lie. That's okay. I don't judge people for lying. I just explain to them, hey, sometimes, so I worked in child protection. Not everyone would be like, by the way, I just want to let you know I beat the hell out of my kid, got stripes, no reason, was drunk. I'm a Raiders fan and we lost a rough game last night. Like that doesn't happen. So I would say things like, hey, I understand some of the questions may make you feel a little sensitive because you've just met me. It'd be better for you to say I'm not comfortable rather than lie, because that I want us to have a good relationship. And my worry is that lies get in, that would get in the way for you reaching your goal. And notice I made it in their best interest to tell me the truth, not in my best interest. Right? And I want you to think about how much information we're gathering from them within 5 minutes of meeting them. And that's information they may not feel comfortable telling their family, their partners, their best friends. Another thing you might want to say when you're asking for assessment, you can be like, on a scale of 0 to 10, how comfortable are you answering these questions, right? I'll also, when I talk to them, be like, you're sharing a lot about your life and it's important you feel respected. So how can I show you that I'm being respectful to this information? Right? It was so cute. I had a teenager I was talking to and she wouldn't look at me. And so I'm like, I'm in my mind, I'm like, dude, what's going on? Because she was, if the camera's me, the child the whole time was like this. And in my mind, if the child's looking this way, what do I start assuming? They're disengaged, they don't feel trusted, etc. So I said, on a scale of 0 to 10, how respected do you feel talking to me? And she's like, 100%. I said, okay, I said, that's curious. I'm not sure I would have guessed the same thing because you're not looking at me and it's good for me to know that. And she said, I have a lazy eye. It makes me feel uncomfortable. So I only like to have people look at, and I was like, oh. And if I hadn't asked that question, I would have been in the complete wrong assumption about what I was seeing and would have assessed it differently. I would have been like, yeah, I have a resistant teenager. My not being truthful is not making good eye contact. So anytime you see body language that may let you know that there is that the relationship you guys talked about at the beginning that was so important, that relationship may not be growing the way you want to, just ask. Scale of 0 to 10, how comfortable are you? It's really important you feel comfortable. What can I do to change it? Because those power dynamics, whether it's age, whether it's gender, whether it's race, whether it's gender identity or sexual orientation, those are really going to impact people's trust in you, correct? It does. And you need to open the door to let them explain that there may be things about you that they don't trust. Not because of you, but because of their prior experiences working with the government, working with white people, working with straight people, working with cisgendered people, working with people who are not addicts, that they don't feel comfortable talking to people who are not addicts because they're worried they'll get judged. What you just need to do is explore that level of comfort and adjust as much as you can. Remember how you guys said flexibility? I had someone who was not talking to me, wasn't going to let me in her house. And I said, okay. And I asked a miracle question. Imagine you did feel comfortable talking to me. What would be different? And she said to me, you're white. She's right. I am. And I said, all right. And she said, I don't even want to hear your white voice. And I said, okay. I said, here's my worry. There's no one else in the office who's a trained forensic investigator. I do have a woman of color. She's not trained. She can come with me and she can ask the questions, but they're my questions. I want to be transparent that any conversation I'm going to be recording and the questions come from me. And she's like, no, we'll do it that way. And I was like, okay. I mean, it was not the best forensic interview that ever went down, y'all. I'm not going to lie, but I got her talking to me without court interference. And as it turns out, when she was young, she was placed by a woman who looked like me. So every time I came in the room, she was triggered, right? With anger, didn't feel trust. I wasn't going to change that. But what I could do is be flexible in what ways I could engage, so I could get the most information. Because a lot of times when we do assessments, we're on wild goose chases because people aren't giving us the accurate information because they're worried about us judging them or the consequences. So explore that at the beginning of the assessment process. You with me? Scale of 0 to 10. We good? So what we're going to do is, it's been an hour and a half. And what do I know about the adult attention span? It doesn't last over an hour and a half. So we're going to give you guys a 15-minute break. I'm going to set my timer and put it on the screen for 15 minutes so that everyone knows when to come back. What I tell everybody at this point is if you have questions or comments, absolutely go ahead and put them in the chat. My computer is freezing on me. I will try to get the timer on the computer, but otherwise come back at 2:45. But if you have questions that you want to make sure are answered, we will certainly tackle them as soon as we get back. Otherwise, enjoy your 15-minute break.
Yeah.
That's our gentle reminder that we're going to come back to class. It's not really gentle. It's sort of like a high pitched scream, a little aggressive. What I want to do now that we've at least had an hour together is I like to do a check-in on style as long as we have a full day. And I'm going to come back on Thursday. I just want to make sure that two things are happening. There's content that you feel like is helpful and applicable to the work you're doing, content, and the second is delivery. The way I'm providing it is a way that you feel like it helps you learn. So what I'm going to do is ask a scaling question, 0 to 10, 10 being like I strongly agree and 0 meaning I struggle. When I ask for feedback, I want to remind you guys I have 3 people and 3 furry beings who are contractually obligated to love me no matter what your score. So this is an opportunity for us, for me to be able to make sure I'm meeting your learning needs in a way that helps you grow professionally. So on a scale of 0 to 10, if you guys would just chat in turn, 10 being like, yeah, I'm learning stuff that I think will be useful to my job. 0 meaning, Francis, I really should have just binge watched the latest Marvel movies series because that would be as helpful. Just go ahead and chat in for me. 10 being really helpful. 5 being some stuff. 0 meaning I'm about to take a nap. Okay, so for the most part, we're getting some good knowledge, and that's good to hear. The next thing I want to do is on delivery. I want to make sure I'm engaging with people, giving people an opportunity to talk and share information or ask questions. So on a scale of 0 to 10, in terms of delivery, go ahead and chat in, or if I'm going too fast or too slow or whatever, go ahead and chat that in for me. Okay. So it sounds like we're off on a good start. I'm enjoying you guys too. So if there's any point that you have questions about the content and or the delivery, go ahead and let me know, and we can see what adjustments we can make. What I want to do when we'll get back to assessments, because that's an important skill. What I want to do is have us talk about understanding who we are in the room and who our clients are in the room. And when we take a look at that, I want to bring this up. This is called Joe Harry's window. And this is sort of a way for us to understand what we know and how that cross sections with what other people know about us. So if I were to do this for me and y'all, I would say something open, which is something I know about me, and you guys, even after an hour and a half, could already guess. If I were to tell you I was hyper, how many of y'all would like keel over and be like, no, I don't believe she's hyper? No, all of you would be like, absolutely, good God, this woman acts like she runs on Red Bull 24/7. Right? So if it's something that I own about myself and something that you guys can share and feed into, then it's something we can have conversations about, right? So ideally, when we're building relationships, this open arena is ideal. What we have is this hidden part, which is stuff I know that you don't know about me. That's the change we have to make. So I want to create a relationship where I feel comfortable enough sharing about stuff that I hide normally from other people. So, but you wouldn't know is that I'm an introvert. And y'all be like, Francis, that's the wrong job for you. You have to talk to like I've trained up to 100 people at a time. That's not a job for an introvert. I'd be like, no, actually it is. I just, when I'm done talking, I'm done talking. Right? So extroverts, when they have these experiences, they're jazzed afterwards. When I have these, I'm like, and cut scene, and do not talk to me for the rest of the day. And so the reason I don't publicize that information is because who wants to hire a trainer who's an introvert? Because of the biases people have around introverts, like, oh, they won't talk, they won't engage, they'll be boring, they'll just read a script. So I'm worried about the consequences of sharing that information. So what we have to do in our engagement and our assessment process is explore what they're willing to share with us in the open and create space that they might be willing to share some stuff that's hidden, right? And we can do that by being trustworthy, by being attentive, by being transparent about the process, by letting them know what we're going to do with this information. So I'm going to sit and I'm going to ask Lauren all these questions. And if I'm asking about her sexual identity or her sexual preference, she might be like, what in God's green earth does this have to do with getting food stamps? That makes no sense to me. So she may not be willing to share that with me. So I would ask a question. Okay, Lauren, I'm asking questions about gender identification and orientation because there's a special fund that we have for those who are food insecure for those populations. Then all of a sudden it matters that I'm asking that question. Otherwise, she'd be like, it's none of your business. That's none of your business. So what we want to do is create relationships where people are willing to lean in. And this other one, the bottom left, is what we see about people that they don't see about themselves. That's the blind self. And this happened to me. Someone said, Frances, you're really intimidating, to which I, no lie, laughed in their face, which is really not the best way to receive feedback. But I was like, how could you possibly think I'm intimidating? I make fun of myself constantly. I'm goofy. And they said, no, you're really loud. And you're really enthusiastic. And for quiet people, that's too much. And that's really intimidating. And I was like, oh, okay then. So then I had to learn to adjust how I engaged with different audiences. And I had to increase my awareness that for all people, like my enthusiasm works for a lot of people. For other people, it's too much. Right. So what I have to do is be willing to receive feedback. So we have to create a relationship that, so if I'm working with Wendy, that I can share with her like, hey, if you are a blue t-shirt wearing person, then this is going to be a problem for you. And she'd be like, I don't want to hear any of that feedback from you. I've worn this blue t-shirt my whole life. It's been fine. And we need to talk about this blue t-shirt in the room. Right. But I have to get her to trust me and to understand what I'm telling her comes from a good spot. And that's where some of that professionalism and competence and displaying of knowledge helps. Right. So what I would, if I'm in my room or in my workspace, being able to explain my certifications, my licensure, my education, what I'm good at, be able, anytime I meet anybody for the first time, I'll say, hey, look, I want to explain to you the social work process, that when you come in here, this is your space, et cetera, et cetera. And then I said, I want to sort of give you a little primer on me. I'm a little loud, little informal. Here are my areas of expertise. I'm an expert in family functioning, parenting, trauma survivors, especially around sexual abuse, right? Here's where I would farm out so that if people were nervous about sharing stuff with me, they'd understand where my areas are and what I've been doing. So really how you present your knowledge, how you present your professionalism will increase the chance that people will hear stuff that they hadn't necessarily owned. Because how many of us receive feedback like really wonderfully when we aren't expecting it? Oh, look at Tiffany. She sees, most of us are like, what? Why? And what you want to do is when you're approaching that, because you want to be able to have things to talk about. If you're like, Frances, you're really hyper, and I'm like, no, I'm not. What change is going to come from that? How are we going to moderate this huge ball of energy bouncing in the room in a way that's productive? And because I'm ADHD, I'm going to put them all mute just because I want to make sure that I can not get distracted. And this last segment, this unknown, that's what are we going to do if all of a sudden we can alert that there's a massive earthquake on the Eastern Shore? Am I going to be like, see ya? Or am I going to be like, hey, here's some information. I don't know about it. You don't know about it. So what we want to do is by creating safe spaces, by developing honest relationships, being transparent, presenting our knowledge and professionalism, we are maximizing that open window where we can talk about things, right? The less trust, the smaller the window, the less that we can do. So that's Johari's window. I thought it was kind of neat, and I wanted to share that. When we talk about getting to know who our clients are, and I wanted to circle back to this issue, is we need to recognize that in order to lean in order for change to occur, 3 things have to be put into place. There is willingness. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat. Willingness, that's the enthusiasm to make the change. right? So this was developed, and I want to give them credit. This isn't a Francis thing. I took this from Andrew Turnell and Steve Edwards from their Signs of Safety program. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the signsofsafety.net. There is a URL if you want more information about this program, where I got this information about willingness. That's the enthusiasm to change. Capacity, that is, do I have the tools, skills, and resources to change? And confidence, that is the belief that the change will bring me closer to my goals. You need all those things to make change. So change is a three-legged tool, and I hope I define that. So what I do with all my people with whom I work, I try to steer away from the word client, just FYI. It has client on here. Client, to me, when I say client, I think it automatically creates a power differential, and I think that makes it more difficult to engage. So if you hear me stumble with that word, that's a journey I'm on, to lose the word client. So willingness, capacity, and confidence. It's a three-legged stool of change. When I talk with people, I'll say, I have them set their goal statement themselves by asking the question, if 3 months from now you saw a friend and they asked how therapy was going, and you were to answer great, what would be different? So I have them really behaviorally define their goal. So if they say something like, I'd be more confident, I'd say, hey, if I were to walk in a room and know you were confident, how would I know it? How would you be acting? Because I want to be able to be held accountable for the work that we do, and feeling is hard for me to measure. Right? So I have them set their goal, and then I'll ask the willingness. How, on a scale of 0 to 10, how willing are you to work on this goal? On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you believe that therapy is going to be a good part of that? And a scale of 0 to 10, do you feel like you have the skills, tools, and resources to make a change? So I ask that of everybody, because I need to know where to focus my time. Is this, I need to give them skills, tools, and resources, and or do I need to give them knowledge? It was interesting. I had someone else in my office has a transgender child. His parents, his parents are really struggling with it. And so I was talking with the parents, and the dad was really willing to make a change. And the mother made it sound like it was a confidence issue. She said, well, I'm not going to allow him to wear a binder because it'll cause breast cancer. And I said, actually, there's medical research around that. And the only worry people have about wearing binders is that if you wear them, 24 hours, it could give you a backache, but there's no research showing that a binder. So a binder, for those of you guys who don't know, for people transitioning from female to male, a binder is something people wear on their breasts to flatten them so their bodies feel more congruous with their gender identity. And she's like, okay, well, I mean, that's fine, but it's against my religion. I said, okay, how connected are you with your religion? Oh, I go to church every day. Have you talked to your pastor about it? No. Well, what would it be like to have a conversation with your pastor to find out if wearing a binder was actually against your religion? She's like, I'm not going to have that conversation. And so I was paused and I said, I'm curious. If you want, on a scale of 0 to 10, how willing are you to accept your child's new identity? And she said, I'm not willing at all. And so I said, okay, well, then I'm not going to have a conversation to refer you to a doctor, to refer you to your pastor, because it's not knowledge that's a resource. It's not confidence. It's just, I have no interest in making that change. So I think it really helps direct our time. And she got really mad at me. She's like, well, why? I said, look, because I don't want to waste your time and my time sending you to the doctor. Even if I present you every study in the world that binders don't hurt a child long-term physically, you're still going to say no. And I don't want to send you every religious connection or have you connect with your own religious community if no matter what they say, you're still going to say no. And I don't think it's fair to give your son false hope. So we need to deal with another issue here. So it was a really important moment for me to see if this was a knowledge issue or willingness issue. And it was a willingness issue. So I'm going to strongly encourage you guys when they set their goals to ask, and you can tell already, I ask Galen questions all the time because I think they're an amazing way to gather information. But to sit down with the people with whom you're asking to change, how willing are you to make this change? Do you have the skills, knowledge, and resources? And do you believe that the change is going to make you happier? Right? Sometimes people, when they're facing sobriety, are really worried that their life's going to be better sober. They'll have to leave their friends or leave their job or not have that emotional crutch to dull the pain. And so they don't have a lot of confidence that sobriety is going to bring them where they want to be, which is happiness. So those are all, you want to make sure you're putting your efforts in the right place. So what I would like us to do now is delve a little bit into our coping techniques. And so what I'm going to have you guys do is take handout number 4, which says, "Who am I?" at the top. I'm going to give everybody a moment to find that. And oh, and Josh was so fantastic. He went again and put it in the screen. Thank you, Josh. And what I'd like for you guys to do is, and I'm going to put it up on the screen too, is I want you guys, again, to answer these questions, knowing you don't necessarily have to share information that makes you feel uncomfortable, but we're going to do it in smaller groups. Right? I think it's nice to give everybody a chance to talk, and I can't get all of that from one person. So what I'd like for you guys to do in these groups, and I'm going to give you a good 15 minutes to have this conversation, is to look through some of these questions and really sort of like, what am I like when I'm angry? And where did I learn that? When I'm feeling sick, how do I behave? And how did I learn that? Like my husband, he has a temperature over 98.7, falls down like he has been struck. And I can have 105 and be like, yep, let's put some Tylenol and go. Right? So where do we learn those sort of things? What do I do when I'm sad? Where did I learn that from? When I'm overwhelmed and I need help, what do I do? When I meet new people, how did I learn to engage with people? When I get pulled over for speeding, if you get pulled over for speeding, I don't mean to assume everybody's got a lead foot like I do, where you learn it for. And what I want you guys to do is explore some of these behaviors and make a connection specifically to where you think you learned it, whether it's experiences you've had or the way you've watched other people or expectations you have in your community. And before I send you off into breakout groups, I want to pause and make sure I made my directions clear before I send you off. You'll have about 4 or 5 people in the room to just sort of share your answers with. We'll give you about 10 minutes. Any questions before I send you off? What's going to happen? I've created those breakout rooms, and then I'm going to open all the rooms. What should happen is there should be an invitation that pops up that you can press join. And if you can't see that, please let me know. And I've made sure that the handout is also accessible to you in your rooms. Time. All right. So Kia, I'm going to put you in a breakout room. As you can see on the slide, it's handout number 4, and it directs you just to answer those questions. You don't have to answer any of them publicly if you don't wish to, but you should have an invitation that pops up. Do you see it? Perfect. Thank you. Oh, we got everybody in. Look at me. That's awesome.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
In the future, obviously didn't do it today. Would it be helpful to ask everybody to not leave the meeting itself for the break and just to
That
turn
was
off?
my bad. Totally my bad. And I didn't say it, and I will do it next week. I mean, next Thursday. I apologize.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure, because like I know when you're presenting your screen, it'd be a lot more difficult for you to know if somebody's requesting to join back in. So like I think that's probably something that like on the orientation meeting that we have for the AM cohort, we could probably make note of that as well, just so people kind of already have that in mind.
You're absolutely right. Thank you. I will fix that.
Hello.
Yes. Hi, Rita.
Can you send, I don't know, my internet connection, I've switched like 3 computers since this whole session, so I don't know what's going on in our building. But can you send me back to my breakout room? I think it was 7.
Yes. Well, so what I need you to do, your invitation is still there. So if you click on the ... and go to breakout room, it should still be there. Did you get it? I've lost you again. Why did they have just wondering? So Rita, I'm assuming you are there since you are frozen on my screen. Get some more water. Josh, what am I? Oh, did that work, Rita? Were you?
It temporarily put me in another room and then it went away. So I have no clue. I didn't even join fully. So I don't know.
Okay, so what should happen is you're still listed as room 7. So I can't move you back. If you click on go to your breakout room, if it's one of the menu items, it says go to breakout room, click on that, your invitation should pop up. Because that's what I'm following right now. If I click on the ... and then if I click on breakout rooms, then the invitation should pop up for you. There we go. Yay! What am I doing? Okay. That's moving. Josh, am I here till 4 or till 4:30?
I believe the session's 1 to 4:15.
4:15. Okay. Wanted to make
3
sure.
hours with a 15-minute break.
Yeah, I don't have to do that till. Oh, I'm right on time. Dogs cannot have no training. Need to wait. You can be about them training later. Okay. All right, we'll wait for everyone to come back. About 24 more seconds. Okay.
Meeting is being recorded.
Just a reminder, this meeting is recorded. You heard it here first. So now that everybody's back, I'm curious. Let's hear from breakout group number 2. That was, oh gosh, wrong button. What were some of the discussions you had around how that's Ariel, Davina, Kelly, Marissa, Melissa, and Samantha? What were some conversations that were sparked from that handout?
I think we got to like the top top 3 points about when we feel angry, when we feel sick, and when we feel sad. And I think everybody kind of have almost the same reaction to how we would behave in those situations. And for a few of us, all those are learned behaviors from like our mothers. So just mommy's issues. Yeah, we got into really good conversations about those 3 topics, and it's quite similar. And also we realized that nobody wants to be in a room with us when we're angry.
Right. So you're learning sort of the commonalities of behavior can be connected to gender, and that those gender roles about how and when you're allowed to express anger and or sadness are different, right? Based on those sort of things. So that was a great thing to bring forward. What about room number 5? What were some things that you guys brought back? That's Doris, Kia, Maritza, Mark, and Marquita.
I think we pretty much had the same for when we got angry. We pretty much would shut down and not want to be bothered with no one. For feeling sick, some of us, we pretty much would just keep doing what needed to be done. And feeling sad, just listen to music, lay down, go for walks and stuff like that.
And where did you guys think you learned it?
For most of us, we didn't know, like it's just, I guess, traits or things that we did.
And it's, you know, one of the things that we're going to be asking people to do, because if you look at these behaviors, a lot of them are a part of what can bring people into our office, because they've been angry in a way that, or dealing with something that they're angry and don't know how to manage, or being overwhelmed with being emotionally or physically sick, or feelings of depression or feelings of anxiety, how they're taught to engage with people and how they respond to authority. You know, all those things can be a part of why they come in. And it's important for us to sort of reflect where some of that may be coming from. And so the reason I have you guys reflect on where they're coming from is because if the way you express yourself when you're angry, where you were given some positive reinforcements growing up, because that's how you acted when you behaved, and it's maladaptive to the way I'm doing it, you're going to have a disconnect in the relationship, and I'm going to start judging you. Does that make sense? So when you're angry, in my family, we were yellers. It was okay. No one said anything. Like, you just knew doors got slammed. In my husband's, when doors got slammed, that was a sign that things were getting dangerous. Right? So he had a very different reaction to that. When I was growing up, so I'll share with you another experience talking about not a partnership, but a professional partnership. When we're in a meeting, in a management meeting, if there's an issue, I'll bring it up. And I talked to a colleague of mine, and we both agreed there was an important problem that we needed to talk about, and it needed to be addressed. And so we're in the meeting, and I'm talking because that's what I do. And she says nothing the whole time. And I'm like, you know, what's going on? Have I missed the boat? Did you disagree with me? What's going on? And so I text her, and I was like, am I missing something? And she said, I don't need to be labeled again as the angry Latina, the overly emotional Latina. So I'm going to let you go. And I'm not going to. And I thought that was very interesting, that she, in her origin, had learned, you know what, there's some people you don't show your anger to because they automatically assume that, that, oh, well, you know, and they dismiss everything you say. Right? So I just don't talk at all. I'm curious if anyone had any other discussions that were connected to culture when it came around to how they behaved, how they expressed themselves, how they felt comfortable advocating, to whom they feel comfortable advocating, and where they think they learned it from.
This is Ilaria. I said in my group about how am I when I'm angry, because I don't know where I learned it, but I told them that I think it's cultural. As you can hear, I'm Italian, and we have a very loud and loud way to express, most of us, of express anger, and our hands fly all around. All the stereotypes that you see in movies about Italians, those are true when we are mad. And then after 2 hours, you are friends like you were before. Nothing, relationship are restored. But it's something that I grew up with. And now that I live abroad, I see that is not the normal. And but not always I'm able to correct it.
Well, and you know, I think when we're talking about assessment, we are trying to decide what normal is, and that's so culturally connected, right? So what is normal? So if you're expressing when you're angry, I'm like, Laria has an anger problem, and does she or not, right? Does she, you know, some of these behaviors are culturally connected that can be pathologized if you only see it through your cultural lens. And that's sort of the point that I think it's important to land on when we're talking about how we assess people, because it's where our bias could come out. And if we aren't aware of our biases and how we evaluate other people's behaviors, misunderstanding, assumptions, or biases come out, then they get tracked to a different set of services, or you say they have a different set of needs, right? And that can be really dangerous. And so a lot of things that we hold dear, I think it's important for us to understand where we got our values from, not judging the values, just understanding their origin and what they bring forward to us when we go about and start assessing someone else. When we're talking about culture, I think it's important for us to recognize that the wonderful thing that being so close to DC, we have tons of different cultures that are represented in the state of Maryland. I think it's fantastic. It was interesting because we went, my family and I traveled out west, and we went to a state that does not have a lot of cultural influence. And it was like, it was sort of interesting. My children were like, where is everybody? But what I want to do is think about is how does cultural connections express themselves? How do you know when someone's connected to a culture, identifies with a culture? What are things people are saying or doing to let them know that that's a part of their identity? Go ahead and just shout out.
Dress.
Yes, dress. What else?
Language or how they speak.
Language, absolutely.
Food.
Hair. Hairstyles.
Hair.
Mannerisms.
Absolutely. What else?
Religion.
Yep. Think about, let me ask you this.
Celebrations.
Yes, celebrations.
Gender roles.
Gender roles. What else?
community or the type of people they surround themselves with?
My family, I come from New England, and for holidays, family for us is 2 parents, 2 kids, and a dog, and that's it. My husband comes from an Irish Italian community. So basically the southeast part of Pennsylvania and the southwestern part of New Jersey is invited to his parents' house. Right? So how they define family and define community and who's allowed. Yes, healing methods, body language. Is eye contact a way of expressing engagement or is a way of being rude? Right? Music.
The way you your parenting styles.
Parenting styles and expectations. I was listening to a very interesting podcast from This American Life of a immigrant Indian mother talking about how difficult it was for her to engage with the upper educational system, because in her mind, if I'm paying $70,000 a year, I tell my child which courses to take. Right? As opposed to the stereotypical American ways, like, oh, use upper education to explore yourself and find something that makes you happy. She said, nope, as an immigrant Indian mother, I'm telling you right now, I'm paying for it. And this is what we got to do to have you. So it was an interesting, and they were really pathologizing this mother instead of recognizing her experiences where she came from. And it was not a pathological parental expectation. It was just different. See what I mean?
I would say births, celebration of births and deaths.
Yes. So rites of passage, transitions.
Art.
Art. Did I hear art?
Dance.
Dance.
I would say boundaries or like thresholds, what people are willing to put up with.
So is that emotional boundaries or physical boundaries or both?
Both.
Where does my space end emotionally, psychically, and where does yours begin? And where does my physical space end and begin?
Taboos.
Taboos, what you can and can't do. So go ahead.
Health.
Health. Tell me more about that.
Just in traditions, let's say I'm just thinking of I don't know, traditions of if you burn your hand, you may put butter on it. Just traditions and health.
Or I'll even add to that and say, like in Hispanic Latino culture, there's curanderos, which are not MD doctors, but they work with more like spiritual herbs, that sort of thing. Almost could be considered as witchcraft in some ways.
The healers.
Yeah, healers.
Who are the healers? Who is it okay to talk to? There was a sex abuse case that I was studying, and in her community, the only person of authority to talk to was the pastor. That was it. And the pastor said, your husband's sexually abusing your daughter because you're not having enough sex with him. So you need to have more sex.
And I would say that too with healers, how you interpret dreams.
Dreams or connections with
spirits.
Other spheres, or I guess other spheres, right? Our current consciousness or not, right? Those are absolutely. I want to make sure I'm capturing all of them. Your names, Courtney, absolutely. How you call yourself?
I said religion, but like I guess spirituality is the same thing. So,
well, let's put them both up there, because for different people, that's different things. And this is just like the tip of the iceberg. And when I say tip of the iceberg, I use that word purposely, because when we're looking at understanding cultural identifications, there's things that we can see, and that's the tip of the iceberg, but culture is so much more than that. And that's why when you think about cultural identity, you don't necessarily want to assume that what you see is what the presenting issue is. And the other thing when I talk about culture that I want to make sure I make clear is that and I think this would be interesting for you guys to do right now is make a list of how many cultural identifications exist in you right now. So I'm going to give you 90 seconds. How many cultures would you say you are connected with? And write down as many as you could. Ready, set, go. How many cultures are you connected with? All right. There's 90 seconds for you. Let's see, who got over 3 connections? Doris got 3: Spanish, Jamaican, Barbados. Catherine, you got over 3?
I put Latino, Middle Eastern, white, Black, Asian, and blue collar and white collar.
Blue collar and white collar. So that's 5?
6.
6. My counting's I stopped counting well after 3:30. It's 3:33. We're just not going to have me math. Who's got more than 6? Did anyone include age as a part of their culture? Right? So Gen X culture versus millennials, how they problem solve, how they communicate, how they dress. Those are all things that are generationally connected. Sometimes it's about Maryland, the place you live. It's about gender identity. Catherine, you still have your hand up? Or did you want to? Okay. What other ways did people connect their cultural identity with? Profession. We have our own language, y'all. Social worker. We got acronyms. We got values. We have boundaries. We have role expectations. So actually, Georgetown defines it. With somebody wanting to talk, I want to make sure. Okay. It defines this as all these things. Cultural identification may include, but is not limited to, race, ethnicity, national origin, migration background, degree of acculturation, documentation status, socioeconomic class, age, gender, gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, family status, spiritual, religious, political beliefs. Did anyone put Republican or Democrat on there, or just done with everybody? Physical health. Psychiatric help, cognitive ability, literacy ability, including health, behavioral, and financial literacy. All those things in order to be a culture, and then that can be passed down. So all these traditions that get expressed, those are ways that then can get passed down to new members of your culture and community, whether you come in through a baptism, whether you come in through birth, whether you come in through marriage, whether you come in through a job, all these different ways that different cultures have an entry status. So it's important for you guys to know your cultural affiliations, values, and understanding how they may or may not impact how you assess others. Because otherwise you'll have something called implicit bias. Have you guys heard that term? Most of us can name some of our biases. I have a bias towards Steelers fans. I just try and work through people why you'd be a Steelers fan. I got nothing to do with nothing. Or like Yankees fan, I just feel like I know something about you that I don't want to acknowledge. Or like when you say lacrosse mom. So I have 2 kids who play lacrosse. When you say lacrosse mom, I instantly feel like I know stuff about you that I may or may not know. And the fact is, I can own that. But there are some biases that I constantly have to re-explore, right? The more we grow, the more we learn, the more we interact with people different than us, our understandings of those communities. So what I want you to do is there's an implicit association test. Now, when you put that in the Google machine, it's going to send you to the implicit association test that has been around for over a decade. And what it does is it gives you a private opportunity to explore through questions delivered in such a way to eliminate response performance, like, oh, look at me, I have no biases everywhere, I'm awesome. So it's a fantastic way, a private way for you to explore on a couple of different axes where your implicit biases may be. And it's important once you take it and understanding where you are to then grow and circle back, right? So most of us naturally lean towards communities where we were connected with, right? But it's a part of the learning, growing, and exploring to help us learn more and accept more about others. So I would encourage you guys to look through that as an important way, because otherwise it's going to affect your assessments if you're not aware where your blind spots are. And I think it's just a nice private way to do that. That's safer. Okay. Any questions about cultural connections and assessments? I made it like 30 minutes, and y'all, this should be like a 3-day course around diversity, equity, inclusion, but I just think the conversation always needs to be in there because I think it's that important. Okay. So I hope you continue learning on that. This is just to, and these are just a couple things, how we express ourselves. If we're allowed to express ourselves, those things can be culturally defined. Who are the helpers? If getting help is acceptable, what's qualified as help? All those things are going to impact as you're trying to help people get towards their goals. These are questions that are going to impact how you develop a relationship, how they set their goals, and who to bring on their team. So if you have communities who are resistant to, like, so I worked in child sexual abuse, which means we worked a lot with the police. Let's discuss. In a lot of communities, police do not have a good reputation. So if I'm like, oh, let's join with the police, they are going to jump right out of that team, right? Because of their negative experiences around working with law enforcement. So it's one of the things that we just need to keep in mind and help us understand how they would answer each of these questions. A good question I asked is, when you were growing up, what you don't want to do, and this is just what you don't want to do, is be like, in your culture, how is it okay to do this? Because y'all, that's like weird, condescending cultural tourism, and that's disrespectful. What you want to do is explore, and you want to say, hey, growing up, if someone had a problem, how'd it get fixed? Who were the people that really were in charge of helping others? How did you get help? Those sort of things, instead of making it a cultural, like, ooh, tell me about your culture. It's not people's job to explain their culture. It's their job to explain to you how their culture has affected their ability to process these things. Okay. Okay, engagement. So there are going to be a lot of minds to navigate, a lot of difficult, sensitive topics we're going to be covering. And what we need to do is tackle the first part of engagement, which is your introduction. How do you introduce yourself? Here are some things I'm going to give some tips to, because I'm going to ask you guys all to write out your introduction statements of how you introduce yourself to someone new working with you. This is how I did it for me. I said, hey, my name's Frances. I get to talk to kids every day, and today I get to talk to you. And when I talk to kids, I talk to them about how things are going on at home and how things are going on at school and with their family. And if they have some troubles, I try to work with them and their family to move them forward. Okay. Everything I've told them why I'm talking to them, what we're going to be talking about, what I'm going to do with that information. And notice that I made no promises. I purposely say we try to help. Here's why. I used to say we're going to help you. And we had an investigation. Family wouldn't work with me. I asked for a court order, and the court wouldn't. The court sided with the family, wouldn't order them to work with us. And I met with the boys and they said, you promised to help me and you didn't. And I was like, oh. And so I never promise anything again. And so I use the word try. So when you're thinking about writing your introductory statement, you want to be jargon free. What you don't want to say is, my name's a CPS investigator, and after an allegation of child maltreatment, I'm coming out to conduct a forensic interview to make a determination whether or not, beyond a preponderance of evidence, we believe child maltreatment occurred. Is that relatable at all? Is that digestible at all? What you want to do is, based on where that person is developmentally, cognitively, experience-wise, use their language to describe what it is you do, not your language to describe what it is that you do. Does that make sense? So you want to make it jargon free. Yes, Demetra, when I explain what I do in child protective forensic interviewing, it should scare you because it sounds really overwhelming. So I change it to, hey, I get to talk to kids every day. I say that on purpose for two reasons. I want to show enthusiasm for what I do, and I want to take some of the stigma out. I want to let them know they're not the only kids who have had this happen to them. So I get to talk to kids every day, and today I get to talk to you. So I want to show some enthusiasm that I want to be there. And I want to be behaviorally specific. Right? So I get to talk to them. And when I talk to them, I talk to them about this and this. So you want to be transparent about your purpose. This is what we're here to do. And then, because that's all about informed consent. Before you start asking questions, you need to let them know why you're asking them. And that's a big ethical standard. You don't want to be like, haha, you told me this, psych, now you're not, now you're not eligible, or now you're going to jail. So you want to let them know what it is you're asking and why. You want to set up reasonable boundaries and expectations. And that's where we get to the idea of try. So what you shouldn't have in your introductory statement are any acronyms. What we're also not going to talk about is any words that you had to go to college or grad school to learn. It was so charming. My first intern I had wrote a closing letter to a mother that she said, well, we've engaged you, and after an assessment, we made a determination that the triangulation between you and your former spouse created opportunities for your child to act out in such a way that was maladaptive. And when she asked me to sign off on it, and I gave her a letter and I just wrote A+ on it. And she said, what do you mean? I said, it's a really good term paper. Does anyone else know how to read this? And she's like, oh, and I said, yeah, you need to understand this is not your language, it's their language. Find their language to describe what it is that you're going to do. And acronyms are things you have to learn, not things people know. So what I want to do is give you guys 2 minutes to write your introductory statement down. Make sure you're being behaviorally specific. So when I talk to families, or when I talk to participants, or when I talk to people who come to my office, these are the things I talk about. And this is why. And this is what I'm going to do with this information. You want to use we language as much as possible to introduce this idea of teaming. So when people come in and they're trying to access power, you don't want to reinforce your power. You want to use teaming language. This is what we're going to do together. This is what we want to do as we work forward on the goals you've set. Etc. might even throw some things in there that convey non-judgmental attitude. Right? Hey, you know, one of the things that when people come in to see me in the clinic, I'll say, hey, you know, I know for some people it can be hard to walk into the door to a mental health clinic, and I'm curious about any worries you may have about what it means that you're here. Right? Or I'll say things like, you know, because kids, it's funny. Kids especially, if they cuss around me, they're like, can we cuss? I'm like, this is your space. Communicate. Right? You know, so what are things that you're specifically doing to show that you're trying to convey a teaming approach, non-judgmental? I'll be like, there's very little I haven't heard. You know, and I say, but the limits I will set is around safety. If I feel like there's an emotional or physical safety issue, I will intercede. So realistic expectations. And here's where you want to do is define safety in the relationship. Right? So you can talk about the importance of making them feel comfortable or respected. And now that I've just told you to do all of that, I want you to do it in no more than like 3 sentences. Oh, Paula's like, come on. No way. And the reason why I want you to keep it relatively short is because when people are experiencing crisis or in their emotional part of their brain, their attention span is shorter. So when you give people a list, anytime you want to list things, if I were to tell my daughter, honey, I want you to go upstairs, I want you to make your bed, I want to put your clothes away, and I want you to close the dog gate to your sister's room, and then I want you to make sure you brush your teeth, and then can you make our bed and fold the laundry? And then come back down. How much of that is she going to remember? Research says the first thing and the last thing, and maybe 1 or 2 things in the middle. So while that you may feel like you're giving them all this information, you're actually giving them information just so that you can say you've said it and not in a way they digest it. So make it shorter. If in your agency you have tons of information you got to dump on them at first, I'm going to strongly suggest that you compartmentalize it and have it in writing as much as you do verbally. So I'll say things like, hey, this here is our informed consent procedure. I just want to go over the highlights. I'm going to give you a copy so you can read them, but I want to go over the highlights. What happens most of the time, you're like, here's informed consent, sign if you agree. And they agree and you're like, oh, I've got informed consent. No, you don't. You shoved a paper in front of somebody and they signed it. Right? So we want to be really clear about all that process. So I would really like to take some opportunity for you guys to share with me an introductory statement, knowing it will not be perfect, knowing that there's a good chance I'm going to have some constructive feedback, and knowing that you'd be doing a learning favor for the rest of your classroom by giving yours up as an option. So I would enjoy if someone would present their introductory statement they wrote down. And my other option is I can put you guys in small groups, and that might be a little less scary to have you guys work out your introductory statement. I'm telling you, y'all, I made every new staff I had practice their introductory statement with me before I sent them out on a case. Because they're like, oh, I would tell them this. I'm like, nope, say your words. Emily, what you got? Thank you. First of all, let's give her some groups now. Some applause for coming forward. Look, you're getting lots of group love, Emily. If nothing else, you're getting some love.
Well, actually, first, it's a question.
Okay.
Because, I mean, in this organization, we used to say a lot our title. So I don't know if it's correct to say, hey, my name is Emily. I'm the housing director. I don't know if that makes a barrier between.
You know, I really appreciate that, because I agree. I think that's a power push, right? My name's Emily. I'm the housing director. Well, okay, I'm like powerful. What you could say is, my name's Emily. This is what I do.
Okay.
And I think what's more important is to say, this is what I do, rather than this is who I am. You know, if they're saying, I'm here to speak to the housing director, you walk up like, yes, I'm the housing director. This is what I do. So if you're going to lead with your job title, don't skip a beat before you say, this is what I do.
Okay.
So, you know, and so great question. I think that helps advance learning. And I want to take what Catherine has brought forward. Can we give her some snaps that she brought hers forward? I'm all about the snaps. Is what as I read that for is the state and federal programming that they might be eligible for. And so health programs and state and federal programming doesn't tell me enough about what it is you do. So Catherine, so tell me, what are some of the programs you connect them with?
Sure. So just like different requests. So some families need nutrition help, or like, so we, try to check and see if they'll be available for SNAP or TAMF or or WIC if they're a mom. And depending on what their status is in the country, they may be eligible for certain things, or I'll look for things that are more local. So like food banks that don't ask for that specific information. Also screening opportunities that are free or sliding scale, that are also not requiring them to give information about their legal status, or other programs that aren't like income restricted.
Okay, so here's what I would take, because the thing that you said that landed the strongest with me is I look for things.
Okay.
And that with me is like, oh, I know what you do. So you say, hey, so when you come into a new community, there might be a lot of stuff out there families don't even know are there, or they're eligible for. So I look for things based on what things you might need and try and connect them. Do you see how that might land a little differently? That looking for me was powerful. And those were your words. And so I really want to build on that. The city, state, and federal programming is information that is meaningless to me as a consumer. So you can say there are lots of programs out there that folks don't even know about. And I just want to let you know that these programs are based on what you're comfortable sharing. And some programs are more accessible or some not. And it's my job to help walk you through them. How did that land with you, Catherine?
Yeah, no, I definitely see that sounding better. Like I look for with an intention of, trying to help them.
Lovely. And I when you say I specifically work with families and children, I would take specifically, I work with all people. Usually I work with families and kids. That being said, because as soon as you hear specifically family and seniors, if I'm just coming in there as a 50-year-old woman, I'd be like, okay, never mind. Right? So it'd be like, I work with lots of people.
Okay.
Only work with seniors, then throw out your work with seniors. Or
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I want to tell you a training habit I have, and it is, does that make sense? And I want to honor that. It can sound super condescending, and what I hope it lands is I want to make sure I'm communicating properly, because I do talk too quickly. So thank you for offering that up, Catherine. I appreciate that. Kia, yours is, I look forward to getting to know you and your family as we work to support your child's educational journey. So one of the things I really like that you led with is this idea of support, right? That you're coming in there not saying, I'm gonna fix you because you're messed up. You're coming out there being like, I'm here to support you. And the other word that I connected with really strongly was journey, right? So you're saying this isn't a one-stop shop. You're saying, hey, like this is a process, and we want to get you in and get you settled in so your child can be as productive as possible here. And I like the enthusiasm too, Kia. So that would be the feedback I give, is really pushing this idea of support and journey moving forward. So thank you for that, Kia. I'm going to take a couple more because you guys are just killing it with some of these ideas. So I'm going to go with Latanda and then Davina, and then we'll go to Demetra. Did you have a question or did you have an example?
Yeah, I had an example. I just don't type that fast.
Oh, okay. So I had Latanda and Davina, and then I will kick it back to you. And I want to be typing sensitive. Some of us are not typers, and I embrace all of you here. So let's talk about Lavonda. I'm an eviction prevention specialist. So we assist families that need housing support. So what is it, Latanda, that you do with families to prevent evictions?
We find them financial resources, so they won't get evicted. We advocate for them also if they need advocating.
Okay, so we work with them to find money to help with the bills, and can also help to advocate or to work with, you know, your landlord or whomever.
Any housing support area, any housing areas, we pretty much touch.
Yeah, so when you say provide assistance, what I want to do is give me an example or two of what you commonly do, so I have a better idea. Because when you say we provide them assistance, I'd be like, you got me a home. And you'd be like,
And we can do housing search.
yeah, oh, great. Well, tell me that. Like, hey, when families hit the crisis of possible eviction, there are a lot of things we can do. We can help try and connect them with financial resources to help pay that bill. We can help them maybe negotiate or talk to their landlord, or sometimes we even help them find different housing resources that's in their financial capabilities or whatever. Do you see how that gives me sort of a picture? Because when you said we assist them until I have the behavior of what you're going to do, then I don't know what you've done. Are you with me, Latanda?
I am, but I use assist because I want them also to meet me halfway. So it's more team effort than.
Great. Then say we work as a team.
Okay.
Say, my name's Latanda. I want to let you know I team with families, or I work with people, you know, and that together we do this. So I would throw that language in there because I like that idea that I'm not going to do all this for you. I was working at a support center and someone came in who was at risk for a housing disruption, and she's like, find him a house. And I was like, what? Like, that's not how this works. And my boss goes, you need to find him a house. I'm like, I don't even know what their housing needs are. It was really, so we want to set realistic expectations. So thank you for that, Latanda. So we have Davina. I work for Project Hope, a workforce development program. So here's how I would tweak that a little bit. Twerking, that's something you do. Anybody wants to do on their own time. I want to talk about what we're doing. See, it's 4 o'clock, y'all. I get a little tongue tied. So what I would say something is like, here at Project Hope, sometimes folks have a little trouble finishing their 6-week program. And so I get to know you to see if there's anything we can do to help you, support you as you move along. Davina, is that clear? And I want to also say, you've told me you're here to help me with any issue. So what I would also do is throw in there, like, typical issues are this and this and this. So they get an understanding of what kind of issues you deal with, and then what kind of support you give. Like, say, you know, sometimes if they're having trouble with getting to work and back, we can help talk about transportation, or sometimes it's this or that. So I make those connections. So I would give a couple of examples that are illustrative. I'm going to take, and then we go to Demetra. Do you want to give an example?
Yeah, so before this, usually I would use my title as an opening to be able to, as an introduction and explain it. But this, I wrote, hi, I'm Demetra, and I'm really glad to meet with you today. Before I get into what it is I do, I want you to know that you're in a safe space and that your privacy is most important to me.
Okay, I just want to tell you, Demetra, you put yourself on mute while you were talking. But when you said first, I want to have a safe space, I have everyone's pictures up, and like 3 people are like, oh, which means that landed. Like, when you threw that out there, you could see this people like, oh, okay, and when you have that sort of reactions, probably means you said something really good or really bad. And I'm going to lean towards the really good.
Thank you.
I really look how you laid that out there. So that's lovely to say, hey, before I get started, I just want to let you know this is a space we have to talk and it's private. And I think that's really, I lead with that. See, and this is why we're a learning community, because I didn't even say to do that. And Demetria did that, and we're all like, oh, love it. Fantastic. And you cut yourself off. So did you want to finish the rest?
Yeah, I was adding that I'm extremely dedicated in helping you identify some issues and concerns that you may have, and we can tackle them together. So I try to take some of what you said and not use my exact title.
And the one thing I'm seeing as I scroll through a lot of these, and I regret, I don't think I'm going to have time to look through all of them and give feedback. I'm going to try, is I see lots of barriers or issues. When you want to say barriers or issues or assist, that should be sort of a marker to be like, okay, what am I saying or doing to assist? Give a couple of examples of issues. Okay, I got tons of issues, Demetria. You want to help me with all of them? Right, because I don't think you have enough time. I'm about to turn 50. I got some issues. But you want to say issues around blank, or sometimes families have worries with this. So you're going to take the idea of helping and assisting and put some parentheses about it. So we set those expectations. So that's something I'm seeing, like a couple up here with some barriers. And that's sort of how I would give feedback there. And I hope that lands with you in a productive way. I'm seeing as I look through here and I look through Ariel's, she's talking about, I'm here to address any barriers. I want to be really careful when you say any barriers. You've opened the door, Ariel. So you are now on the hook for whatever barrier I list. You got to help me out with. So I would say lots of people have barriers that can come up with enrolling in this healthcare class. We know how important it is. So we want to make sure that, we can work through some of them, like transportation, like money, like
more specific.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say any or all. I would say, the other thing I would introduce is lots of people know how wonderful this class is, but have some barriers getting in. We want you to finish the class. So my job is to provide support, and we often do things like A, B, and C. Or is there something else? How does that land with you?
That sounds good. Thank you.
Would you tell me if it sucked, Ariel, and not helpful at all?
Yes, I would. It was helpful.
Good. All right, let's see. Oh, Euclides, I love this idea. I get to chat with young people. That landed with me. You said chat. I was like, we chatting. I like it. Right. So in that I get to show some enthusiasm. Life goals. I would just take life goals and give a couple of examples. Life goals around education or with their relationships. Because I want you to be as confident as you can be. Life's hard enough as it is. Right. And if there are things that get you in the way, my job is to work with you. Because let's be honest, there's always going to be stuff in your way. Learning some skills can help. All right. But I love that idea of I get to chat with you. That sort of put it in a more casual, more informal way that made me relax instead of being like, oh God, I'm working with a formal resource. And there, you take that power differential and you make it a little bit more even. I want to do one more, and I apologize that I can't do them all, but there's one more topic I want to get to before we're done for the day at 4:15. So Carolyn, absolutely. When you say provide life skills, again, give it a common example. Life skills like budgeting or cooking and when you say parenting resources, I don't know what parenting resources are as a consumer. I can guess as a social worker who's been in the field what parenting resources look like. But, parenting resources like, hey, sometimes we have classes or we have parenting support groups. So you can talk to people like how hard parenting is. And when you're talking about engaging I serve as an advocate in creating and engaging educational, professional, developmental opportunities for people to get a sense of normal life. So what you're working with is, hey, women who've been through what you've been through, they've got a lot going on. And what I want to do is help work with you to give you whatever skills or resources around budgeting, around parenting, so that when you're done working with me, you can feel as
Also had,
sorry, there's someone speaking.
right. No, I also had earning certifications, gaining experience in a specific field, maybe going back getting a GED. After I wrote it, I was like, you know what? I need to be more specific. So yes.
Great. So as you look through your introductory statement, if you've got more than 4 syllables in the word, take it out. Don't have it, right? If it's a word that's a professional word like issues or barriers or assist, make sure that you're providing examples so they have reasonable expectations of what you're going to do. So I really appreciate your examples. I'm sorry I can't get to all of them, but I'm very appreciative of the ones we got because I feel like they had some good learning points there. Hold on. What I want, I've got about 7 minutes left. When we're engaging with people, I want to make sure, oh, Demetra, do you still have your hand up with a question? Okay, I'll lower your hand for you. Okay. We need to attend to all the different ways people communicate, right? So this happens all the time. I work with trauma survivors, and sometimes trauma survivors are very uncomfortable talking about their trauma. So they will giggle while they'll say it, or they'll talk about that they don't care, and they'll start crying. And all I want to do when I see someone communicate is I want to reflect it back to them. So I had someone who was talking about a very traumatic sexual assault experience, and she starts giggling during it. And I paused and I said, hey, I just want to pause a minute and check in with you. You're sharing something to me that sounds really scaring, and I see you giggling. And she paused and she went, yeah, I guess I just can't believe it's me. It almost seems like a story. I can't connect with it. Or if I'll see someone who'd be like, I'm totally fine with it, and their legs jumping like their knees, and I'll be like, hey, you say you're fine with it, but I just want to notice I see you wriggling your hands or your knees jumping. They'll be like, oh, yeah. So just reflect back what the different ways they communicate. We're always trained to reflective listen. So Paulette's going to tell me something and I'll reflect it back to her to make sure I heard. I want you to reflectively observe, which is when you see stuff, when people communicate through their behaviors or through their emotions, double check. Like, hey, you say you feel comfortable, but you're not looking at me. That's because I have a lazy eye. Oh, okay. So we're on the same page. When you communicate and you're engaging, and I talked about this earlier, you want to be really behaviorally specific. So we've already sort of gone over that. But this idea of drawing out a narrative, this is the most important thing I'm going to tell you of all the interview skills. Just shut up. It's just to be quiet. Be quiet. People fill silence. Too many times we ask question after question after question after question. And like I said earlier, these are people who are, oftentimes in crisis, trauma survivors, and their brain's in an emotional state, and that's overwhelming. Slow your roll and ask questions that are open-ended and get them talking. You know you're doing a good interview if you hear their voice more than yours. If you're not hearing their voice more than yours, then you want to pause and say, hey, I've done a lot of talking and I want to make sure I hear your story. I do this with kids. I'll say things like, I have asked you a whole bunch of questions. If you had my job, what questions would you ask? And I will then, once they give me the question, I'll ask them. I'm like, oh, that was a really good question. Tell me who does make your meals, because the kids lots of times, and I say kids, and I would say anyone who might feel disempowered or marginalized or in a power differential relationship, that they sometimes are waiting for you to ask the question. They're just waiting. And sometimes we don't ask it because we don't know to ask it. So ask them. There's not an initial interview I do where I don't say, hey, I've asked you a lot of questions. I'm wondering if you think that there is other information I should know. Or I'm wondering if you think there are questions I haven't asked. And then I shut up because I want them to talk. not me. So you use open-ended questions. We're going to steer away from yes, no questions. So if a question start with did, could, would, have, those are all yes, no questions. Your question will be long, their answer will be short. When you start questions with I wonder, I'm curious, tell me about, I want to hear, those things are cueing the person you're speaking with that you want to hear more than just a one-word answer. And that, so I do peer review for, I do peer review for interviews, and I've interviewed literally thousands at this point. And I can't tell you, when I tell people stop asking yes, no, and start asking these, I wonder, I'm curious, tell me about, I want to hear, how much more information people get, how much more respected they feel. Right? That's where I want you to focus on. What questions do you ask? One of the things as a supervisor, I will tell them, write a list of questions that you want to ask. Why do I do that? Because people get performance anxiety, and sometimes they mean to ask questions and don't. So we'll do things like I'm sitting here talking to Judy. I'll be like, Judy, we have been talking a while. Let me look at my questions and make sure I've asked everything I need to. All right. And then I shut up. Silence is one of the best ways to encourage people to talk, to give them safe spaces to reflect. Mind in crisis takes a while to hear the question. Do I have the answer? Do I want to give the answer? How do I give the answer? And it takes a minute. So the last thing I want to say before it is the hour of ending is 3 seconds between when you finish asking your question and when you expect them to answer. So that's 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. So I'm talking to Wendy, I'll say, hey, tell me about the top stressors in your life at home. And then I'm going to shut up. 1,000, 2,000. Now y'all have guessed I'm a little manic. So it took me a while to slow down. And I would literally I would count on my fingers like this. I'd have my sort of fingers like this, and I go 1, 2, 3 to make sure I shut up for as long as I should. The next thing you want to do is be quiet for the 3 seconds after they finish. So Wendy says, well, I'm really stressed about, the baseball playoffs. I'm really worried about the weather, and I'm really worried about the crisis in Ukraine. Those are my top 3 crises. So I'm still not going to start talking again until 3 seconds between her last word. Why is that? Because sometimes people, just because they're quiet for a second, doesn't mean they're done talking. So 3 seconds in and 3 seconds out. So that's my last bit of knowledge to give around engagement. You guys did a really good job. So I got a lot of these things in earlier. We're going to pick up on planning when we come back Thursday at 1 o'clock. Again, you can see, and Joshua has put in here for make sure you've done the survey. I want to first of all thank Joshua for helping make sure that we were all set with the tech. Thank you, Snaps, Joshua. And I also want to thank you guys, your comments, your learning. I really felt like added to the day, and I'm super excited to see you guys again on Thursday. So on that, boo! See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely my pleasure. You're welcome. Okay, so Lenore and Wendy. Wendy, are you okay? Is there something that
Yeah. No, I was just adding in notes from some of the things that you were saying, so I was plugging back and forth.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure that there was nothing I was missing.
I'm good. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
See you Thursday.
Bye-bye.
And we're done. Bye-bye. Stop share. All right, Josh, see you on Thursday.
Yes, ma'am. I'll see you then.